gonna do it. Black boy, tell me how you really feel. I just wanna build with you. Black girl, tell me how you really feel. I just wanna keep it real with you. I wanna live better, eat better. I wanna love better, sleep better. I wanna feel so aligned, sublime. One time for the state of mind, 2 times for elevated rhymes. Know I architected when I lay design. I drown noise out of the clear blue. I sit, twist the threads of said silence. That's an heirloom. I am the shepherd, I shear sheep. Still fleece funds from the have-it-alls to the matadors who sidestep the bull beautifully to that applause. Around rappers, a higher caliber catalog shines, reminds I ain't coming to flatter y'all. I spark chatter, dark matter, the sharks scatter on these dark waters. Who walk taller, who barks orders? God body, guarding what all the laws taught us. Not a peer, it's rear, they veer near. I pierce deep, I'm revered, my steps remain clear with fierce sweeps. Not a man here who could censor me. I'm on the pier, Elohim with the energy. Black boy, tell me how you really feel. I just wanna build with you. Black girl, tell me how you really feel. I just wanna keep it real with you. I wanna live better, eat better. Yeah. I wanna love better, sleep better. Yeah, I wanna feel so aligned. Let me talk to y'all over here. Sublime. 1 time for elevated rhymes, 2 times for showmanship, 3 times for black hands and land ownership. Revolution I bring to you, wedding ring bling to you. Nisi blues on war tunes to sing to you. I am a rebel without a pause, no applause. Trust me, I must be Chuck D getting mine off. Many fools been clock watching my moves and I needed a reappraisal of flavor. I took the time off. Now, back Jesus, black feet is slumbering unborn. Ark of the covenant curtain untorn. I'm a rose that rose to etch prose in Rosetta Stone. Yelling it through a megaphone, always rapping, baby, forever home. I ain't the pot calling the kettle black. I'm the flame keeping the kettle warm, and I am to blame for the renaissance. It's cold, had to write and recite it with down feathers on. Black boy, tell me how you really feel, cause I just wanna build with you. Black girl, tell me how you really feel. I just wanna keep it real with you. Yeah, I wanna live better, eat better. I wanna love better, sleep better. Yeah, I wanna feel so aligned, sublime. Sublime. I wanna live better, eat better. Sublime. 1 time for elevated rhymes, 2 times for showmanship, 3 times for black hands and land ownership. Revolution I bring to you, where the ring bling to you. Nisi blues on war tunes, singing to you. I am the rebel without a pause, no applause. Trust me, I am Chuck D, getting mine off. Many fools, they clock watching my moves, and I needed a reappraisal of flavor. Took some time off now. Back Jesus, black feet is slumbering unborn. Ark of the covenant curtain untorn. I'm the rose that rose to etch his prose in Rosetta Stone. Still yelling it through a megaphone. Always repping, baby, forever home. I ain't the pot calling the kettle black. I am the flame keeping the kettle warm. I'm to blame for the renaissance that's cold. I write and recite it with down feathers on. I love you and write and recite it with down feathers on. That mean that shit cold. And I'm the coldest. Listen, it's the message right here. Black boy, tell me how you really feel, cause I just wanna build with you. Black girl, tell me how you really feel. I wanna keep it real with you. I wanna live better, eat better. I wanna love better, sleep better. Yeah, I wanna feel so aligned. Sublime. Y'all give a round of applause to this band right now. When they tell me they want to feel the chords a little more, then we got to do that shit again. That wasn't in the rehearsal. We didn't do that. That was not a part of the set list. Roderick was just in my head like, yo, let's do it again. So we're going to do it again. So we did it again. This next record, we're going to get into it since we're having a message to my black boys. Tell me how y'all really feel. I know y'all going through it. We going through it. Black women, tell me how you really feel. I know y'all going through it. Y'all been going through it. So we're going to keep that going. We're going to talk to y'all directly because I love y'all. I love y'all deeply. And I love y'all forever, and I'm unapologetic about that love. You'll be like, yo, well, you know, I'll be like, yo, we're going to do this right now for the black women. Like, we're going to do it for all women. I'm like, no, that ain't what I said. I said, we're going to do this for the sisters, but well, what about all of us? You just be like, no, I said we're going to, you know. They say a rising tide lifts all boats, but see, the thing about that is, a rising tide lifts all boats, but some people swimming, treading water. You know what I'm saying? You can't not acknowledge that. You can't acknowledge what the history and what the present, the chain that connects it all. So we're going to keep going into that. We're going to bring Shaniqua McCants back out here. We're going to bring our wonderful guitarist, Jimmy. This guy right here. Hey, listen, he look nasty, don't he? Right? So we're gonna get him.
Hello.
Jimmy showed up in back.
What's up, y'all? Can y'all hear me? Now, pardon my tardiness. Let me know in the chat if you can hear me. Okay, perfect. Appreciate it, Paul. Yeah, like I said, I appreciate y'all for riding with me through this semi-struggle stream. I just got to Philadelphia to see brotherly love, so I was trying to find parking and make it to my Airbnb. So thankfully, I'm here. But as you guys can see, we are joined by a very special guest. We're joined by Sid, one of the OG interviewees from episodes 1, 2, 4, and I believe 15 or something. It's in the description. But as always, we're gonna get her responses to the video or the videos, the comments on the videos, and we're gonna get her live reaction to her reaction videos. So you guys stay tuned, buckle in. Rob is saying there's a bit of an echo. Let me try this. Okay, how about now, guys? You guys put a 1 in the chat if I sound okay. Okay. That's good audio. All right, I've got the echo cancellation on. Again, I appreciate you guys' patience. Courtney Michelle, I see you. Okay, so you can hear me now. Cool, perfect. Like I said, I'm not in my regular location. I'm in Philadelphia, so I'm trying my best. This is me, my laptop, and my headphones. So we're gonna make the best of it. Low key, I'm sweating because I just walked a couple blocks, but appreciate y'all bearing with me. Like I said, this is gonna be a pretty cool stream. She's in the back already. Um, and as always, this will become a members only chat when our guest comes up. And like I said, we're going to review some of her content from the channel, and we're going to get her live reaction, review, responses to some of the things she said, some of the things other people said in response to some of the things she said. And yeah, if you are a member, you'll be able to have a field day in the chat. If you are not a member, you can bypass that with super chat, super stickers. So yeah, y'all buckle in, get your popcorn, get your drink or whatever, and this is gonna be fun. Make sure I got all my I's, T's crossed, and I's dotted. All right, perfect. All right, let's go. Sid, you ready? Pop your camera on for me, darling. Can't see you. Let's see, maybe it's me. All right. Sid, can you hear me? All right. Of course, we're having some technical difficulties. Sid, can you hear me? I'm gonna remove you and bring you back again. I'm gonna try that. All right. Having some technical difficulties. In the meantime, welcome. Thank y'all for being here. My name is Alan. If you don't know, I'm the voice behind We Need to Talk. This week's videos, we connection is unstable. Okay, connection is getting better. This week's videos, we covered some pretty interesting things during the conversations. Thursday's video was bringing back um, Amber, and that video was entitled "McDonald's Will Never Be Google." And if you watch the video, you'll be able to see why. In the Tuesday's video, we had a new guest. She actually flew down from Canada with her boyfriend, and that's entitled "The Manosphere Taught Me About Retention." So if you guys haven't, go ahead and check those out. Really good dialogue, really interesting perspectives from our guests. Okay, I finally see Sid. I see Sid looking like Sid. All right, I'm about to bring you up. Laura, she just cut out. I appreciate y'all riding with me through this struggling. Eugene, shout out to you, new member. Thank you for being here, brother. All right.
I'm so bad at this.
No, you're good at it.
We're going to figure it out, though.
You see me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Can you see me?
Too, of course. How you doing?
Okay. Hi. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Oh, yeah.
Nice.
You in a good spot?
I think I'm in a good spot.
Okay.
I'm nervous.
You're nervous? Tell me why you're nervous. Let's talk about it.
I don't know. I feel like these YouTube comments be savage.
No, trust me, I got you. I got your back.
You got my back.
I got your back in these YouTube streets. Yeah, I'll guide the conversation, but again, you're in the driver's seat. I just got the GPS.
All right, cool. Let's do it.
So first, I like to start with how has your experience with the aftermath of the interviews? How has that been? When you did the interview, when we dropped it, what was your experience after?
Well, I was a little bit involved in it. Mm-hmm. So I guess it was kind of not difficult, but it was kind of challenging to see people with very different views than me, I guess you could say. I had to stay out them comments because those comments are brutal. And you would tell me, stay out the comments because I'm sensitive.
Yeah, but you wouldn't listen.
So I wouldn't listen. Of course not. Of course not. I had to see what people said, but that was the whole point. I have to realize that I have my mindset and my views, but not everybody's going to share those same views. And then also, coming from a male audience, it can be more humbling, you know? Mm-hmm. So it was eye-opening. It was definitely eye-opening. I applaud you for what you do because I don't think I have the stamina to hold it down and be so vocal and also be observant and be strategic. I wouldn't have the stamina to do that. I would just be like, all right, y'all got it. Because I'm not about to fight with no people I don't know. But it's also very important, those positive comments or those comments that are open, not even positive, but just those open-minded people that want to have open-minded dialogue. I think those are that's what it's all about. You know, if you're not going to be helpful, then I guess you can't really give those people that much attention, if that makes sense.
No, that
So
makes sense. What surprised you? Like after,
um
well, even when you watched it back yourself, like what stood
yeah.
out to you about what you said, or the questions, or like our banter back and forth?
I mean, when I have these combos with people, because I do have these combos with men and women, I think
Mm,
that I was surprised that even still with, I think I'm a little bit more of a logical woman than a lot of the women in my generation. And even then, there was still more that men were not very happy with or they weren't satisfied with. And it's just so nitpicky, I guess you could say.
mm,
Um, mm, when you like, it's like when we're in this space,
mm,
Black women, I feel like, and Black men as well, they're judged as this collective, and Black
mm,
women can only act a certain type of way, or when Black women don't necessarily act accordingly or with couth, that kind
mm,
of is stamped on the entire Black female community. So when there is a Black woman that comes and is a little bit more logical and sound, it just still feels like it's not enough because I'm having to like to make up for something. And I
mm.
mean, it comes honest though, you know, it comes honest, you know. It's no surprise, I guess, when we look
Yeah.
at the actions of the Black women in our community. And I guess sometimes there are some Black women that do have a more sound voice that are going to have to play the martyr sometimes, but it can get exhausting. So it's like, I don't know.
Mm.
I'm not as vocal as I used to be. Let's just say that.
So when you were more vocal, what was that like, and what changed?
So I grew up, okay, so I have a lot of women in my life. I have two sisters.
Mm,
I grew up with my mom, and I have a lot of female friends. So of course, when they looked at the videos, they were like, "What is this?" Because I'm a reformed
mm.
feminist. You know this.
Oh Lord, we're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into it.
So when
Hmm.
people looked at the video, they were like, "Who is this person?" Because people are not really. They
Used
want
to
you to
that?
say it again.
They're not used to that.
They're not used to that, and people want
Mm,
you to say the same.
yeah.
And people want you to, especially people that you're close to, they want you to have the same type of mindset. But experiences, you know, you grow, and being able to express that in a way that isn't pick me ish, I guess
Yeah.
we're using social media vernacular. Um, it can kind of get kind of like, all right, y'all, this is my viewpoints on things. I love women, but you know, there's some things that just need to be said.
Yeah.
So I guess there's a difference between saying it on a platform and saying it in the intimacy of your space and the people that are in your life.
Mm,
Um, Not that they weren't happy. I think that they were just kind of flabbergasted because they, you know, they weren't used to it, like I said. So it was an interesting experience. But hey, what can you do?
well, you're here now. So
What?
you
Oh
you you
God.
you you touched on, because I did
Yeah.
want to get this in here. You touched on your mom's reaction
Yeah.
and like your sister's reaction. You don't have
Yeah.
to go super in depth, but like generally, what was the reaction from the women closest to you
It was okay.
when you said some of the pick me stuff?
The pick me stuff.
Hmm.
Is it really even pick me? Like for real, if you break it down, like
We'll
is
get
it
it. We'll
really?
get into it. We'll get
Okay,
into
okay,
it.
okay. I think that my mom was just like, you're a 26-year-old woman and you don't really know what
Mm,
you're talking about. That's kind of what it was like.
mm,
She felt as though I was saying it from like a high horse type of thing. Um, and she she's lived in autopilot for so long as a single woman.
mm,
And she's had her experiences with my father, and she also doesn't live in my generation. So it's very hard to like explain what it is that I'm really talking about when I say that Black women in my generation are out of line, because she doesn't experience that. Like, it's not something where she runs into those type of women. So it was just kind of like, all right, Sid, like you are so left field. And she was like, you kind of sound like you hate Black women, this and that, which is so wild to me. It's like, okay. But yeah, it coming from your mother, who has taught me everything that I know pretty much. I'm not saying it was hard to hear. I think that my ego got in the way, and I was triggered a little bit. I was triggered a little bit.
Yeah.
And also trying to battle explaining what I'm saying without it sounding like an attack, because I think that's the importance of having these conversations, that it can't sound like an attack, especially when you talk to women. You have to, there's a finesse. And I think that you do a very good job of it with the women on your channel. Of there's a certain finesse when it comes to Black women, because you're not going to win. If you come at them at the throat, you won't win, and it'll just be like two Black women just going like this, and we're not going to get nothing done. So maneuvering that was interesting as well. But yeah, I don't think she really understands. But also, it's like, I don't think she was also very interested in looking and watching content like this either. So it's like, okay,
What about your sisters? Because you're the oldest of three.
Yeah.
So your younger sisters, you being the former feminist leader that you were,
the feminist leader of the pack.
Right.
My middle sister is pretty open-minded. She really doesn't dabble into this space as much. She's very she's very similar to me, where she's logical. She's just not as vocal about it as I am. My little sister, though, I would say she's very liberal. She's kind of growing out of that as she gets older. She's in a relationship now, so she's kind of seeing what I'm talking about. But she still has very liberal ideologies that we don't see eye to eye on a lot. Feminism being one of them. So it was just kind of like flabbergasted. But there's also that respect that I've worked very hard to have with my sisters, where they know that what I'm saying comes from a good place. And it's not like, oh my God, my sister has completely changed and abandoned me. It's nothing like that, because they do have a very high level of respect for me. And I like the way that I carry myself. They know that I do like to read and I like to educate myself. So it's not like this stuff is just being pulled out of thin air. You know what I mean? It's like I have a good reputation with them, I guess you could say. So she was just kind of like, okay, my sister has these views. They're interesting. I don't necessarily agree with them, but it's comforting knowing that she's just not doing it for clout. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Okay. What before we get started, before we really dive into it, is there something that's happening currently in media, on the news, that you want to spend some time talking about? Because I know you have your ears on the ground. You be in the streets as far as intellectual content. So anything that happened recently?
Well, I'm okay. So I'm off of Instagram. I don't do Instagram anymore. So like, as far as like the stories, like Instagram's like one of the first spaces to I guess where news breaks and people have like the shade room and people talk. So I don't really know, because I'm not on Instagram. I am a TikToker though. I love me some TikTok. I can't really think of anything. I sent you that video.
I hate TikTok.
I love me some TikTok.
No, I still hate TikTok. So for you guys who don't know, yeah, Sid used to run our TikTok before we were banned from TikTok. Right. I still don't know why we were banned, but shout out to you.
You know why we were banned.
Held it down.
We were speaking too much truth. We were pissing people off. They kept reporting our page. Yeah. People don't want to hear the truth. But I sent you this one TikTok. I don't know, this is so minute. It's really not that big of a deal. But right now on TikTok, there's this TikTok about how someone on Twitter was talking about how she only wants to date the leader of the group. And now TikTok is going crazy. I was watching that, and I thought that was interesting. And of course, with social media, people are not going to have those nuanced conversations. They're just going to be funny. Either it's going to be two ranges. They're either going to be really funny about it or really pissed off. Like, it's not going to be
There's
any
no middle ground.
Right. And that's the thing about TikTok. So I thought that was something very interesting. And if people would allow themselves to have that conversation, it applies. if you think about it and break it down, wanting the leader of the pack applies. So I guess we can talk about that too, especially if we're going to talk about submission and female male attraction. I think that would be a cool little conversation for us to have.
Okay, so as a woman, how do you understand that? When you heard her say, "I want the leader of the pack," how do you understand that? What does that look like?
So I understood what she was saying, and I think that if you understand female nature, that you'll understand what she's saying. It's so crazy because feminists might try to not try to accept it, but women are innately attracted to a man that leads. And I think I spoke about this. This is one of your questions in one of our YouTube videos about women want the man that's more observant and more in the background, who other people are looking to for validation. That's just a natural instinctual thing that women are attracted to. Now, is it the one that they'll pick? I think that's a different conversation, maybe. Because it might be, will he pick her? But yeah, like women want a man that is going to lead, a man that makes the decisions. And usually a man like that is probably going to be, if he's the leader, because every friend group has a leader. Okay, let me not say every friend group. There are some friend groups that have been friends for 15 years. You know, they just have their vibe, and they're different. But if you talk about like surface level friends that go out in the club, that's a good example actually. Friends that go out in the club, you always notice the nigga that runs shit. Can I say nigga? Let me stop, because y'all, that's another thing your followers are like, don't say that. Excuse my language. You always know the man that runs shit, and he usually is the one either with a lot of women around him or the one that has the most money buying the bottles, this and that. And that's the woman that's the man that women are attracted to. That's not, let me go back. That might not be the man or that might not be, he might not choose those women, but those are usually like the feminists, I guess you could say, that got turned down, and now they're all upset, this and that. So it's an interesting dichotomy. It's interesting. Stop. Oh, God. What?
So immediately, what pops into my head is, I think men, especially men who don't have, this pseudo masculine need to prove something, know when it's time to step up and know when it's time to get out of the way. Like, that friend who loves the club and he's in there, he knows the DJ and shit like that. He might not always be the most successful guy in the group. He might not always be the most disciplined guy in the group. He might not be the best athlete when we go in the gym or whatever the case may be, but that's his thing. And the other guys might step back and let him do that. Do you think women consider the fact that shit might not be what it seems? So just because this guy is the one peacocking at the club doesn't necessarily mean he's the one who runs shit. Do you think women, young women, middle-aged women consider that?
I don't think that our women do a very good job of considering much of any of those qualities as far as the true leader. So the one that's peacocking at the club might not necessarily, even though he might be getting a lot of attention, he might not necessarily be the leader, I guess you could say. Do I think that women will choose the peacock? I don't think that women will be able to, like women in my generation, I don't think they have the self-awareness or the education to be able to categorize men properly anyways. I don't think that we do. We are very much influenced by money, influenced by charm, I guess you could say, or the man that charisma versus maybe the man that you feel, I'll just use in the club scenario. If you're around a lot of men, the man that you might feel more that protection, I guess you could say. I don't know if club is the best best scenario for us to use since we're getting into this conversation. But no, I don't think that women do a very good job of considering factors that are going to be the true leader of the man that's going to be the true leader in the situation. And now that you say that, and you know I like to rant, so please stop me. Now that you say that, the true a leader, upon looking at a group, like you said, he could not necessarily be the one that's peacocking. Do we know how to filter them out? No. I feel like I do.
There we go. Okay, so how do you do it? Put the women on game.
Stop. Okay, I shouldn't have said that. Because I have a type. I have a type as well, so I have to not be biased. I like observant men. Like, I like the man that is not doing all of the talking. Because, you know, I like to keep it primal. I love to keep it primal. The man that's doing all the talking isn't looking around at the situation, isn't scoping out, like, what could possibly go wrong, I don't know, like, they just don't have that instinct. You're doing all the money throwing and all the talking, this and that, and some fight breaks out or something happens, then you can't you can't assess the situation properly. I think that women should go for the more reserved man, and the more reserved man might not look like the one that's peacocking, but the more reserved man, observant man, could be the one that has the best conversation, or the one that is how do I put this? I guess he can be the one that's accurately assessing the situation, I guess you could say. I don't know if I'm putting this in the right terminology, but we're gonna get there. But yeah, I think women should go for the more reserved man, the more observant man, the more confident, as far as like true confidence. That's another thing too. I think that we've misconstrued with what confidence really looks like. Even though women do love confident men, the club definitely would be a good example of this, because you can't really have conversations in the club. But a man that can look you in the eye and have a conversation with you, that's confidence to me. So I don't know. I do know, but I don't.
No, I think that makes sense. I think the club is really, part of the reason why clubs don't really work for me is the way my mind works. I'm psychoanalyzing. Like it's like, for me, it's like watching animals at the zoo. So I can't participate as much as I want to, because my brain wants to just analyze.
Right.
But what you see is people out of character and people trying to play the person they wish they were, right? And unfortunately, a lot of our people, especially millennials, Gen Z, that's kind of their basis of understanding human interaction. It's like, who is that guy at the club? You know what I'm saying? Does he look like he's the one running shit, buying the bottles, this, and that? Yeah, he could be the scammer. Well, yeah, chances are he might be the most insecure guy in the group. That's why he feels the need to stand on the table.
Yeah.
That's why he feels the need to have all the signs brought out that say his name, or his social media, whatever the case may be. But unfortunately, I think, like you said, our women can't necessarily distinguish between the two. Real quick, Stacy, appreciate you, brother. I will see you next Friday. I'm going to Miami. Me and Stacy are doing some work out there, so y'all stay tuned for that. All right, you ready? You ready, Sid? You ready to do it?
Yeah. Let's get it. Yeah, let's do it. I'm down.
All right, so
I guess
for the we're gonna make it work. For those of you guys who don't know, so
the
Sid
chair
was featured. Yeah, Sid was featured in our very first episode. She was featured in episode 1, episode 2, 4, and 15. Yeah, 1, 2, 4, and 15. And if you click down into the description, I put links to those episodes as well, so you can check those out after this stream. But as we always do, we're going to do a comment section audit. and we're gonna go through some of the comments. Okay, and I want your thoughts, and then I want us to do a live review. Are you familiar with Donovan Sharp?
A
Say
little
it.
bit, just through your channel, I think. Yeah.
Got you. Yeah. Well, so Donovan Sharp, a while back, he did a review of your video, and he
Mm-hmm.
actually had two women on there who apparently are YouTube famous or TikTok famous now. One, her name is Fem Sapien, and the other, her name is what's her damn name? Just Pearly Things. She's got a pretty big
Okay.
channel now on YouTube. So they reviewed one of your videos. So we're gonna start with the comments of episode 1, which is the S word, and then from there we will go to episode 2, and then we'll go to the video. So can you see my screen?
Yeah, you know I'm blind.
Okay. So I'll read it out to you, and then I want your immediate response. So I pinned this comment primarily because it was from a woman,
Yeah.
but I also think she has something interesting to say. So Monique, shout out to you if you're watching. She says black women don't want to give up their power, in quotes. Black women has had to become male and female due to us not listening to our men and listening to everyone else that has never had our best interests at heart. Sorry, men. It is up to the women to recognize that there is a problem within us. Also, why in the hell can't women answer a damn question? Listening to us at times makes my head hurt. Immediate thoughts.
um, she's accurate in the first part. I think, okay, let's talk about the part that I just laughed at about us dancing around the question or whatever, not answering the right question, answering the question.
Mhm.
Women, I feel like, right? We have a lot of emotions. I literally just said, I feel like we have a lot of emotions. And as well spoken as I like to believe that I am, sometimes it takes me a while to like put all the pieces together. So let's just put that out there. But we'll get to the point
Okay.
eventually. We're very indirect. Sometimes we're very indecisive in nature. So it's like it just takes a lot. But yeah, black women we were swindled and we didn't do the work necessary to become unswindled. I think that having the conversation of what happened to the black femme in the 70s, which we've all had that conversation before, is a excellent basis and an excellent foundation as far as where we are now. But I don't think that we have taken accountability and done the due diligence to work to get ourselves out of that space. It's just kind of been a generational thing, kind of like a domino effect. And I guess to play devil's advocate, um, it makes sense because when somebody goes through, we talk about generations of people who all influence one another, goes through something for so long that turns into the normal. It's just kind of like we've dug a hole that we can't really get ourselves out of, but I don't believe we can't get ourselves out of. I think that we're all adults that make our own choices, and we have the wherewithal and the knowledge, because we've been having this conversation for what, 5-10 years now, as far as at this level, not even that long. But we've been having this conversation for so long that it is about time that black women sit down with one another, because I don't think that our road to change is going to be next to men primarily having this conversation just yet. I think a lot of us are needing to sit down with one another and talk about where we've gone wrong. So yeah, I do agree with that. Now, do I think that men have played a little bit of a part? Yes. But again, I don't think that should be the primary conversation, because women are extremely powerful, like she said. And we hold a lot of keys, and the manosphere might not necessarily agree with that, but we do. And I'm not just talking about sexually. I think that if we became better at setting boundaries with ourselves as well as boundaries externally with other people, we will be a lot better off. But we've given so much of ourselves without auditing, first off, and without asking for anything in return. And it's just kind of like, the question is like, why?
So when you say you've given so much of yourself, um, my immediate question is, number one, what does that mean? And number two, to who?
I think I'm primarily speaking sexually. And I know that's not an answer to everything. I just think that with the advent of feminism, and I want to talk about our generation exclusively, because I think it was obviously a lot different in the 70s, in the 80s. It's a different ball game now. I think that we have completely abandoned our intellectual power. I think that's gone out the window. And I think that our sexual power, um, we've completely given it away. And with that sexual power, I think a lot of the repercussions of that is single motherhood, which is obviously a huge one, and it's not the biggest one, but that is a huge one, because that opens a lot. It just opens other doors to where we are now as a community when it comes to just our women raising our young boys and our young girls. So it's kind of like you go through one door and then there's another one to go through. And it's time for us to assess. And I think it's very difficult to assess with people that are angry, because I think that a lot of our women are very angry. I think a lot of our women are very unhealthy spiritually. I think a lot of our women are very unhealthy physically, which we can get into that as well. And I think that when you're unhealthy in all of these different aspects, it doesn't necessarily lead to good decision making. Just like if you don't feel good, you can't perform well at work. I mean, it just doesn't work like that. So if you are, unhealthy, and you've completely abandoned your spirituality, which we very obviously have. And I'm not just talking about picking up a Bible and going to church. We've completely abandoned our health, our wellness. And I think those are all subs of our power, and we've abandoned that. And it is our responsibility to sit down with one another and keep each other accountable. But it's like, how do we do that with individuals that are very combative and defensive, and not wanting to take responsibility? I think accountability is a big buzzword as well right now, which is an excellent buzzword, but it is one. And taking accountability for the fact that we're sick. We are. I think that Western women I think the Western world is sick. That's a different conversation, but I think Western women we're sick. Why we're sick? Is it our fault? I mean, that's conversations that we can have, but we are, and I think it's our responsibility to get us back well. That was a long spiel.
Like I said,
we'll
you did, and we'll revisit some of those things. I did want to bring this comment up by Roger Runnit. He says, men that are active dads, providers, protectors, and teachers actually submit more than noticed or given credit for. They submit their time, effort, resources. He said, effort again. Take things off their women's plates. Take on added stress to make their women happy. Go the extra mile for the sake of their women and children. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that that's a lot more normal than what we have a discussion about. I think social media has they have a knack for taking like the worst of the worst and highlighting it and having a conversation, and not taking those things that are in the middle. Good men are all over the place. they just might not be famous or have a whole lot of money, but they're good men, good, well-rounded men that do exactly what Roger is speaking on. So I 100% agree with that. And I think that's another thing that we have missed the mark on, is highlighting those individuals that are doing what they need to do on the male and the female side. So I 100% agree with that. I think that that's more of a, I mean, the men that I meet, or the men that are in my life, emulates those characteristics more than, I don't really meet any men that don't take care of themselves. But I also have to say, I guess everything is situational, and I guess it's who you surround yourself with and the environment that you grew up in and that you live in. So yeah, so shout out to Roger, because he's right.
Yeah, no, I think that's a
And why do we? I'm sorry, just
no, go ahead.
real quick, being a father that is extremely active, you being a father that's extremely active as well. Why? And I wouldn't consider you in the manosphere. Why do you think we highlight so much of the negativity and just skip right over all the amazing and positive things that Black men and Black women are doing? Why are those things not on display? Or are there more of the negative stories and the negative behaviors? Does it have more of an impact in our community than the positive ones?
Yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost, like, you know, people in mass communications, they'll say if it bleeds, it leads, right? So people have a perverse appetite for car crashes, and we love to see shit shows. And there's certain shit shows on YouTube as well. And we've been accustomed to like the Bad Girls Club and the Love and Hip Hop and the dysfunction, because I think on some level, observing other people's dysfunction makes us feel better about ours. We can say, at least I'm not them. You know, so I think that's number one. As far
Yeah.
as Black men not being represented properly, I think that stems all the way back to everything that happened post slavery, right? I think there was a need
Mm-hmm.
to maintain a certain image of Black men um, to make okay their incarceration, their exploitation, and their death, right? So it's easier to
Yeah.
exploit and kill these men if they're less than human, right? But if they're human, now I have to feel bad. If they're human, now my conscience feels like I've done something wrong. But if they're animals, if they're rapists, if they're criminals, um, I have a sense of peace knowing that serves them right. And I think that never went away, even to this day when we talk about mass incarceration. The imagination of the
Mm-hmm.
American person, including Black men, including our own women, maintains the status quo that Black men deserve everything that they get. And I think Black women's plight is just a consequence of that, right? Because as much as I'm hearing a lot of women these days say, "Oh, Jack Harlow, for instance, makes us feel good," or white men love us better, or whatever the case may be. That is categorically false. Nobody loves, protects, defends, uh, admires, or values Black women like Black men. And as as long as we continue to perpetuate the narrative that Black men ain't shit, uh, I think the unintended consequences that our women will continue to suffer.
I have a couple questions to that, but I know we have to move on. But real quick, I
No,
just
go
want to
ahead.
say,
Go ahead. Talk to me. It's a dialogue.
yeah. So I think everyone's goal on the chat, people watching, is to progress the Black community. Do you feel as though we are part of the problem when we spend so much time harping on all of the negative stories or all of the negative behaviors that, in my opinion, doesn't reflect the normal for a lot of people. Do you think that we are playing into something that is not progressive? Do you think, and I want to know, do you think that if we did as a community start to talk about more of the positive attributes, like Roger said, do you think it will make a change? Yeah, let's start there. You having a YouTube platform specifically, because I know you make money off of this.
So your first question, do I think it pushes us closer to a solution if we keep talking about the problem? Is that pretty much the question?
Do you think it takes us more away? Do you think that we should, as much passion that we put into speaking on the women that are out of order and the men that ain't shit and this and that on both sides, not just, you, but on the female side as well. Do you think us taking that energy and highlighting more of the positivity that we're doing, because a lot of positive shit's happening in our community, do you think that it will be as recognized, or do you think it would be helpful, or do you think that it would even, do you think it would be a flop? Like if you stop tomorrow and stop talking about all the bullshit going on in the media and you just talked about your home, I don't know, talked about positive shit, do you think that it would be your channel would go away?
So I think the first thing is I like to think of this channel as a solution-oriented channel, and the solution being primarily if we can at least understand how to talk to one another, we can have better, more productive conversations in our everyday life. So that's kind of my solution, and that's the direction that I'm going. And then there's steps, after that as well. So there was, I think, I can't remember what year it was, but the Olympics was held in Brazil, right? And when you went to Brazil for the Olympics, they created like a very nice area for all the tourists around the world that were coming in. But literally, if you looked over the wall right next to this nice area, it was the slums. But they attempted to blockade that so the white people and the rich people wouldn't see what was actually going on. What's happening right now is unprecedented. I think what we saw with Kevin Samuels was just a representation of this is the first time, damn near ever, where black men are actually controlling the narrative. Because up until now, the narrative had been controlled by white men, white women, and black women, right? And I'm not even necessarily just because black women are vindictive or whatever the case may be, but I think primarily because women in general are the largest consumer base. So it makes sense for every single industry to pander to them. Even the industries that men are the ones spending money, like real estate, who makes the decision? The wife,
right?
Or who makes the decision? The idea of a woman that guy is trying to attract, right?
Right.
So with that being said, I think number one, right now, it's very important for the sake of balance, for the sake of truth, for the sake of a comprehensive analysis and diagnosis of our problem, that we're getting both sides, and that we're understanding that some of women's grievances stem from men. I think we get that fully, but some of men's grievances stem from women. There are a lot of men who have ruined their lives, men who've lost their lives in defense of or in the pursuit of impressing or trying to garner attention from a woman. And it's important that we tell that full story because women are tasked with literally gatekeeping the next generation. You guys decide what type of men we're going to see 20 years from now, by who you open yourself up to, right? Not only that, women are also tasked with passing on culture to the children. What is culture? Food, language, clothes, literature, dances, music, stuff like that, right? who primarily imparts that knowledge to the children? The mother. So what men are saying is, in as much as men today, black men in particular today, in every statistical category are doing better than their grandfathers, there's no evidence to suggest that black women statistically today, based on female metrics, are doing better than their grandmothers. Right? So we're seeing even a group of men decide to save themselves, get their passports through the whole nine. And
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, the message to them is not one that says you guys are worth fighting for. The message to them is one that says you owe us. We are entitled to you, and because we're entitled to you, you should love us however we show up, however we show up looking, however we show up acting, whatever our mental or rhetorical disposition is towards you. And black men are saying, no, I'm a top 5 guy. I'm a top 10 guy by any metric. I'm not going to settle for mediocrity simply because you think I owe you something. Right. So I think the
Mm-hmm.
reason this conversation is so important, especially how it's being had right now, is that literally this is the first time both sides are at the table and both sides have a microphone to air their grievances and to give their side.
Yeah. Mm. Mm. I'm going to say something very pessimistic, and I'm not a pessimistic person whatsoever.
I am. Talk to me.
I'm not. I like to see the light. I don't know if there is a light for black women. Ooh, that sounds so bad. Damn, that sounds so bad. It sounds so bad. I
I
think that
disagree, but I'll let you finish.
I think that we're going to see the fallout of this in 50 years. So we're living through this right now. But 50 to 70 years is when we're really going to see the fruit, I guess, or men will see the fruit of Kevin Samuel's labor. But I think that there's a subset of really great black women that are going to be matched with good black men. And there's going to be a subset of black women that just simply get left behind. And what'll happen, this is just my theory, is society will then cater to those women that get left behind. You'll probably see a lot more as we get older of like communities exclusively for single women, and they'll make it comfy and they'll make it cushy for them. If they're going to be happy, doubt it, but it'll be great marketing and they'll capitalize off of that for sure. But I think there are going to be a subset of women that just simply have to be left behind. You could have this conversation with these women until your face is blue. It is not going to register. But I do think that there are a lot of really good black women that will be okay. And that's why it's like hats off to you. Hats off to Kevin Samuels and these men that are in these spaces that still, persevere in the face of these women that not respect y'all. They do not care at all about what y'all are talking about. And still Kevin Samuels still persevered, but they're just going to get left behind, and it's going to be very interesting to see that. And I think that energy well spent is in those individuals that are on the more of the middle ground. There are still women that don't go to the club. There are women that don't show their ass on Instagram. Like, those women exist, and these spaces on social media will have you thinking that they don't, but those women do exist. So yeah, it'll just be an interesting fallout to see how the chips fall.
This is what I want to talk about, because I think this is an issue that hasn't really received enough airtime, and I think men touch on it. And the person who's done the best, most comprehensive job, in my opinion, is Dr. T.S. Johnson. He talks about he coined a concept called bitchcraft, and then he coined another concept, called black female superiority. And I've been saying for a long time, even in my own personal life, there is a superiority complex. that
Amongst
our
Black
women
women.
have. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Now, from my perspective, I think it's born from a place of deep insecurity. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the real origin. I think it's masked as pseudo confidence, but I think it's really insecurity. But even with that superiority complex, I think there's also bad faith in interactions with black men. Like, you know how we talk about how white people see us as guilty until proven innocent. Our women see us like that as
Right.
well. I'm a fuck nigga. I ain't shit until I prove otherwise. Right? There must be
All
something
women.
wrong. If again, so not
All
all women.
all Black women.
I would say the majority. I would say the majority. And why I say the majority is because this is the
Oh,
culture.
oh.
This is the
The
status quo.
culture.
Unfortunately, hmm this is the status quo. So even like what's fucked up is like even when I was having my little beef with the passport bros and the save yourself bros, for a lot of those men,
We're gross.
because I can't just speak from my experiences. For a lot of those men who are in their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, the first time that a black woman, a woman treated them with any kind of respect or dignity was when they went to Thailand or when they went to Brazil or when they went to South Africa. So what I'm saying to women is like, okay, we have two options. We can continue to gaslight men and tell them that their experiences either don't exist, don't matter, or they're making too much of it. Or we can actually take a real look at this. There's even a TikTok right now going around, a girl saying, any guy who invites me on a coffee date, I'm not going. So if he's not willing to spend X amount of dollars, he's not worth my time. Again, part of that superiority complex of it's not that we have to figure out if we're a good fit. No, it's he has to perform for me and prove that he is worthy of my time, my essence, my vagina, whatever the case may be. Completely disregarding that man's time is valuable. That man's essence is valuable.
Mm-hmm.
But again, a lot of these concepts are so baked in
Mm-hmm.
that we don't even think they're problematic.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because then you have the manosphere side. They're telling men that the first date should be a coffee date, and that's just what it should be, period. So it's just
Absolutely.
interesting. Like, it's like Black men and Black women are literally on two different sides. Um, I think, okay, let's talk about the divesting thing. I think this is a good, I know we have to move on real quick.
Take your time.
The, um, I was talking to you the other day about white men.
Mm-hmm.
White men, I think, because divesting, as we all know, is a huge space on TikTok and on Instagram. And Black women, just how Black men are like go their own way, Black women are doing something a little bit similar. Obviously, it's different because men and women are different. I think that white men, sir, or non-Black men, um, I think the purpose isn't true love. I don't think it's like, yes, white men are just gonna love me better. They're just gonna love me for who I am. That's some fucking bullshit. Excuse my language. They can say that all day. That's not what it is. I think that a lot of it has to do with, and I don't even think it has to do a lot to do with like them being Black women being hurt by Black men. I just think it's not wanting to take on the plight of fixing the shit that we need to fix as Black women in order to assimilate. I don't think that we want to fight for our Black men. I think that white men are just easy. Just like white women are easy for Black men. I think it's very similar. They're just easy. They'll deal with our shit. Um, the the relationship between white men and Black women has always been very weird and taboo anyway. So it's kind of like finally it's really actually acceptable to have a Black woman on your hip, acceptable. But I think it's a cop out, and I think it's easy. And yeah, I don't think it has anything to do with true love at all. But Craig, give me your thoughts on that. What did I say the other day? I said I said sometimes Black women might feel as though it's a relief to be with a white man. I really do think what we think it's like finally I can just like not have to battle or fight.
I think, I think there's a fundamental difference between a woman running back to her rapist for comfort and conciliation, and a man fucking the daughter of his oppressor. I think those are two fundamentally different things. And, for some Black men, and I speak up against this as well, like, part of getting the white girl is being able to say, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I'm a man. I was able to get the guy who's proverbially at the top of the food chain. His daughter wants to fuck me, right? Or his wife wants to fuck me. There's a power exchange there. Now, for our women to now find comfort in the descendants of the men who sold their ancestors and hung their ancestors and put 12-year-old boys in an electric chair, that makes no sense to me. And it particularly doesn't make sense because, and I talked about this during one of the episodes, like we have a very short leash as Black men with our own women. We have a very short leash of human expression, right? Like you walk a very fine line between you're cool and you could be lame. You're the man and you ain't shit. You're this, you're that. Whereas white men, by our own women, are given a lot more latitude, right? So, for instance, and I said this before, if Russell Wilson, for instance, was a white man, nobody would call him corny.
Right.
If Tom Brady was a Black man, he'd be the corniest nigga in the world. But again,
who's calling Russell Wilson corny in the Black female community? I see a lot of Black men calling him simp and corny, but I don't really see a lot of Black women calling him corny.
So this is the difference. No, sure. This is the difference. Black men call Russell Wilson corny because he embodies everything that makes him the second choice for a Sierra. Because again, these people, we don't know these people, so these people are representatives, right? Right. And in our community, the current narrative is that a Russell Wilson is not the first choice. He's a cleanup man. And in the dynamic that he represents, he is also the cleanup man. But again, and I've said this before, men knew who Russell Wilson was before women did. Men respected Russell Wilson before women did. Russell Wilson is a leader of men. He's a quarterback, Super Bowl winning quarterback, played at Wisconsin. So men knew who he was, but again, when we're using him to represent the dynamic of our community, we went to high school, we went to middle school, we went to college. Russell Wilsons don't get any play. So again, when men are saying he's corny, it's not something men are projecting on him. It's literally men categorizing him based on how he would fare in the dating market, and it's consistent. Because again, we know Russell Wilsons. They don't get no bitches. We know Futures. They're the ones who have the success. And the Russell Wilsons now come in later, and he's the one who gets the message on Facebook. Oh, I always liked you. I now that she's got 2 kids. Oh, I always liked you. I always had a crush on you. Now that he is making 6 figures, if Russell Wilson wasn't a Super Bowl winning successful quarterback in the NFL, Sierra wouldn't have been interested in him, and men know this.
Mm-hmm.
So again, like we get blamed for, oh, we're calling Russell Wilson corny. No, you know what calls Russell Wilson corny? When I see in the comment section of some of their posts, when women are saying out of their own mouths, yeah, Russell is the guy I'd marry, but Future is the guy I'd still want to fuck on the side.
Okay.
Again, men are just telling you what it is. Men are just saying bluntly what it is.
That's so like, it's like comments like that coming from women lack so much morality. And I don't know, like, and I talk to you about this all the time. I do not run into these low moral ass women. Like, who says shit like that? Like, for real, like, who says shit like that? And then on the flip side, on the flip side, also wanting this like fairy tale life and wanting to find the love of your life and to settle down, this and that. You think that you'll be able to have that life and also fuck on a Future and not catch feelings? Like, it just doesn't add up to me. It just does not add up to me. But Russell Wilson also is a little bit of an anomaly in that he's corny, but he also has so much power. So I don't think a Russell Wilson would have done all that bad, like who he is, being a star quarterback, but him being corny, he probably would have got bitches. But I guess the excuse my language, sorry y'all, but the I guess the characteristics as far as him being, he seems like he's very soft, and doting and this and that. I can see how, women will be like, I can't see how, but as far as the low vibrational ass women in our generation will be like, oh, that's corny, that's simpy, blah blah blah. But also, what can we do? And I kind of already know. Oh, sorry. I think I already know your answer to this question. But what can we do? Because growing up, my mother always stressed the importance of choosing the man that just loves me and really, really cares about me. But I do know that a lot of women didn't have that conversation with their mothers. So at what point and how can we maneuver having that conversation early on? Because I think that white women have that conversation. They know you just find a dude either in high school or in college and you marry him and you move on. But we always have the conversation of, no, go get educated. You're too young. Don't settle down just yet, this and that, to where now I'm 27, 28 years old and everyone's looking at me like, why are you not married yet? I just totally just got off a tangent. But
So
how can we have
I'll
these
answer.
conversations with our kids about choosing the Russell Wilsons when they're young,
I'll answer the second question first. I think two things are happening. Number one, a lot of mothers don't actually have game to give their daughters because
That's
they
facts.
never figured it out themselves, right? Like we have to be honest. Now, those mothers are educated and they're successful, but as far as being a woman to a man, they have no idea, right? That's number one. Number two, and I think this is a bit more sinister, and I don't think we discuss it at all. But
What?
a lot of older women actually view young women as competition. So if I'm still in the streets at 40, at 50, I ain't giving you game.
Right.
You're my competition. You're my replacement. I'm not gonna
Sure.
put you on game, right? And then you
Yeah.
combine that with the young women's complete unwillingness to listen. So it's such an insidious thing because on one hand, there's no game really being passed down in droves. And the other hand, the young women aren't even receptive to the game because they feel like the fact that, and the one of the girls who reviewed your video, she mentioned this in one of her videos. She said part of the reason a lot of women don't feel like they need to settle is because they've been sleeping with the high value men. They've been sleeping with the men that they want. and they conflate their ability to get sexual attention from a man with getting him to lock it down and retain. Right. So there's a lot of cognitive dissonance, and now it's the duty of the older women to say, "Oh, no, sweetheart, yeah, he'll fuck you, but that doesn't mean he's going to be seen with you in public. That doesn't mean he's going to commit himself to sacrificing his time or his life in your honor." Those are two different things. But again, you got a group who is completely unreceptive and completely delusional because their skin is still tight, their titties are still up, their ass is still fat. And then you have another group who's looking at them as competition.
Sure.
So it's such a perfect recipe for disaster. The second thing I wanted to address, and I think at some point I need to dedicate an episode, a stream, or something to it, is this. None of my girls are like that. I don't know any women like that. If I had a quarter for any time I've heard that as a rebuttal, I would have a lot of freaking quarters. Because and what's ironic is like, so I'm having these conversations and we're digging in and we're peeling back the layers, and I've had women say, for instance, a guy who might be too good makes me feel insecure because I have to step my game up. I've had women say, "Oh, the hood dudes, the Pookies, the Ray Rays, they make me feel more valuable. They make me feel more necessary." I've had women say, "Yes, we've been evaluating our fellow women like men. So the fact that your girlfriend has a master's degree and makes six figures means she's a good woman. No, she's a good man, right?" And nobody cares to listen to men's interpretation of these things. Well, she's argumentative. She's belligerent. She's not a good communicator. She hogs the mic. She doesn't want to hear. She talks down to everybody. She inherently thinks I'm beneath her. Like, nobody's wanting to have these dialogues. So again, it's up to the men to say no. Take a second look at your friends. And now with those clear eyes and the perspective of the men, now tell me why they're single. Now tell me why they're unsuccessful with men. But if we keep on this narrative that, of my group of 5 girlfriends, they're all wonderful, therapized, successful, great listening women, it's not true. Statistically, it's not true. Yeah. And I know it's hard to like call out your friends or even admit that some statistics like reference me as well. I know that's hard. I've had to do it as well. But the only way we can treat a cancer properly is first like admitting, yeah, I have cancer. Yeah, they found a lump in it, boom, boom. But if we're so unwilling to like dialogue with what our issues actually are, without the filter of trying to protect ourselves, nothing happens, nothing changes.
Yeah. Yeah, Black men definitely are astronomically better at holding each other accountable and talking necessary shit than Black women are. I think that might just be a man-women thing in general. Like, yes, queen is like a whole thing, but if a man's homeboy some shit they're not supposed to be doing, I feel like they would speak up more. And that it is very uncomfortable coming from a woman who does have a lot of female friends. And I like to think that I cultivated a space where everyone can hold each other accountable. But I can see where Black women get together and they just don't have those conversations. Like, you are the best, like you're doing fine, there's no room for improvement, everything is perfect. And that's wild if you really think about it. Like, if you really think about it, like...
You want to know my theory?
Please.
I think most male groups are a consequence of some purpose. And when I say most male groups, I mean like, boys who actually kick it. It's for a purpose. Yeah. Whether that purpose comes to fruition or not, like your group of guys, even if y'all are bums and y'all get together every day and you play 2K, on some level, somebody is trying to start promoting clubs. Somebody's trying to, hey, bro, we need to boom, 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 boom. Or at the very least, we need to go figure out where the bitch is at. There is a
Right.
sense of purpose,
Yeah.
whether it's a
I
great
feel what you're
purpose or
saying.
a small purpose. In female groups, the primary purpose is comfort. I know women who hang out with women that they don't give a shit about, but
Right.
she's fun to have with me at the club, or
Sure.
you know what I'm saying. She's the drinking friend. She's the crazy friend. She's the friend I call when I need to pull up to my man and do some shit. But like me and this girl have never had a conversation. I don't really fuck with her like that. I don't really like her. She probably don't like me. There's always slick comments here and there. But again, you know, and you'll see women even on YouTube. They'll talk about it's hard to make friends as adults because again, there is that cattiness. We're gonna have to talk about that cattiness. It's real.
It is real. It is
You
real.
know,
And
so
I see what you're saying.
yeah. So with that being said, I feel like part of the reason, like I've had women even on the show say that I can't call my girlfriends out because if I do, our relationship will probably be over.
Oh yeah.
And I told them you didn't have a relationship to begin with. And
Sure.
she's like, I know. But she's cool to go to brunch with. It's cool when we all get cute and take pictures. Because
That's
again,
facts.
relationships these days, whether it's platonic or whether it's romantic, especially for our women, and I've said this before, it's about aesthetic.
Yeah.
It's about aesthetic. Women don't want marriages, they want weddings. Women don't want friends, they want friendcations or book clubs or brunch dates. That's what it's all about aesthetic. Everything's
Yeah.
empty.
Yeah. And that's the culture we live in. You might have gone out with me on this for a second. Can you hear me?
No, I'm here. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say that's the culture that we live in. That's a lot of that is Western culture in general. When I was like, we've lost a lot of our spirituality and purpose. And purpose for men is gonna look very different than purpose for women. But I do get what you're saying. Like when men get around, I mean, there's jealous men as well, but like real boys, they trying to they're like our status needs to be here, so we need to get each other to a certain level. You know what I'm saying? Women don't necessarily all have that. So that's interesting. That's very interesting. But what would that? I don't even know what that would look like. Like I don't even know how to even start to have that conversation. I mean, on an individual level, I think that the friends that I've had for a very long time, so it might be a little bit different. But um, what would that look like for women to be like, all right, y'all, we need to assess how we're going to get ourselves to the next level. And what does getting women getting to the next level look like? Does that mean that we all need to be in relationships? That might be a hard conversation to have, that we need to be married, because then women will be like, well, that's not my purpose in life. Okay, well then let's define what is your purpose then? What's going to be your purpose? That's
I'll
going to
say
be like your real true purpose.
you've heard the saying like if you have three broke friends, you'll be the fourth.
Right.
Like your net worth is the sum of your five closest friends or something like that. Like within one
Yeah.
or two standard deviations, right? And that goes for a lot of different things. So if you are around toxic people, you will become like I had a back and it wasn't really a back and forth, but it was a debate on another channel about girls who have hoe friends, and like the dudes, we were saying, um, yeah, if you have hoe friends, chances are you a hoe. So like that would look bad to a guy who's potentially interested in you. And their argument was not necessarily she might be fumbling, but like that stands true with everything because
Yeah.
if she's a hoe for real, what is her conversation about? Hoe shit. What
Yeah.
is she
For sure.
planning? Hoe shit. How are you guys relating to each other based on hoe shit? You know,
Right.
so similarly, if you are somebody who's decided that you want to be married, if you've decided that at the age of 50 and 60, you want somebody to share life with that's going to help you around the house, if you're not around people who are like minded, you're going to get to 50, look around, and like nobody's there.
Yep.
And that's the reality. Now, unfortunately, Unfortunately, a lot of women I've come to realize are actually boring. And what I mean by
And
that
personality.
is not necessarily even the personality piece, but I'm saying like they need external stuff going on for their life to be worthwhile, right? Like I evaluate people based on like who would I want to be stuck in the house with when it's raining outside,
Mm-hmm.
not who's fun at the club. Anybody can put on a character and be fun at the club, or anybody can be fun on vacation. Anybody can be fun in Tulum, whatever the fuck. But who would be a good time where we're stuck in the house, there's nothing to do, there's nowhere to go? And unfortunately, a lot of women, because they've cultivated being fun externally in the aesthetic and
Mm-hmm.
the pageantry of looking like the girl, they've never actually sat with themselves and reflected and like spent time with themselves and enjoyed their own company. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why boring and peaceful are so synonymous these days. You'll see
Yeah.
women meet the great men that they say that they want, and what is their Russell or whatever the case may be. The next thing, oh, I'm kind of bored. I've had women admit it on this channel. I'm kind of bored because peace is boring
Yeah.
because you're boring,
You're
right?
right.
So I think, and this is where I want you to come in as well. I think the dialogue
Mm-hmm.
between women needs to change because I can get through to so many people. I'm still a man. I'm still dark skinned. I'm still African. I'm still the people non FBA. So I can hit just a little bit. But when women start really earnestly
Mm-hmm.
dialoguing with one another and saying, "Yo, this thing that we think is bullshit. Why do we think he's cute because he's standing on the table at the club? Don't we know that in a
Right.
pack of wolves, the alphas are actually the ones in the back, not in the front?
Yeah.
But again, until our women take it upon themselves to step fully into this responsibility they have in gatekeeping the next generation, we're not going to see more nuclear physicists. We're going to see more futures.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I don't know if it's worth it for our women anymore. It's like that's why I was saying putting in the work doesn't sound appealing. I don't feel like to them. Because black women, obviously, as educated as we are, we can put in some damn work where we want to put in work, but I don't think we're willing to put in work in this space. Um, and that's why we result in just throwing our hands up of it and going and dating outside of our race or choosing to be single or, you know, choosing the opposite sex or, a lot of different things where we're just like, we don't really think that it's black men are worth it. And the value that we placed on the black family is so low that that's a whole nother factor. We don't care to
Well,
preserve
th-
much
th-
of
this is a,
anything.
this this is a few things that I've been saying to black women. Number one, um, this line of white men around the block who are waiting to marry black women, it's fiction. It doesn't exist. Nobody is waiting to marry black women in droves. That's scale. Now, again, there are some people here and there who are anomalies, but again, we're talking about the community, big numbers at scale. That is not the case. As a matter of fact, I was having a conversation with this couple, their travel channel. They wanted to advertise on the page, and they were telling me that a lot of the black women who are traveling, all these travel bays, they end up being uh, disappointed to find that as much as they're calling men in America broke, that men of other countries are actually broke, like are actually
Right.
broke.
Like real
You know,
broke.
so so Rico Suave who's gonna sweep you off your feet. Yeah, the nigga gonna teach you how to do salsa, but he makes $10,000 a year.
Right.
You cool with that? Whereas the dude back in the states, he ain't shit because he makes 40.
Yeah.
He ain't shit
But
because he doesn't make six figures.
we don't have that. I've not a I haven't traveled all over the world, but I do my research and I read and I educate myself a little bit. We don't insert ourselves in any other space other than the Western space. So we don't even, Black women wouldn't even be able to wrap their minds around that, because all we think about is just this capitalist society that we live in. We don't think in other places that people are not just really rich walking around here. That might be more of a normal here, but it's not in other places. We don't think about that. We just think about, oh, he might look good and he speaks a different language, and that's, you know, sexy or whatever to me. But we don't think past that. And that's another thing too, is just like critical thinking is just like out the freaking window. It's so wild. A lack of educating ourselves. And I'm not even talking about PhDs in degrees. Obviously we can do that, but just like really educating ourselves on other. Yeah, go ahead.
No, all I was gonna say, and that's what Kevin Samuels was. He was the very much needed reality check, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, contrary to popular belief, since time immemorial, women have been evaluated based on their utility and their ability to reproduce. Unfortunately, I did a so I have a new series called Black Men Talk, and one of
Mm-hmm.
the episodes I interviewed my little brother. He's 17, and I titled that episode "Strippers and Running Backs." And the reason I titled it "Strippers and Running Backs" is because they depreciate at the same rate. Like the average NFL running back's career is like 2 years. I think it's even shorter than that these days,
Mm-hmm.
because they take so much abuse. Like their knees don't hold up, their muscles don't hold up, and there's a new, fresher guy coming every year. Same thing happens with strippers. Same thing happens with prostitutes. Same thing happens with uh, um, porn stars.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, the same thing happens with women. As you age, these two things that happen are inevitable. You lose your youth, you lose your fertility. Now, unfortunately, because of capitalism, they keep overemphasizing these images of these fine ass 50-year-old women and these 60-year-old women who look good as shit. Those are anomalies. Most of them are surgically enhanced. But the average everyday woman is going to lose value as she ages. With that being said, if you plan on attracting a man of a certain type of caliber, you need to move now, because later on, you know, it's like if you're trying to get an NFL contract, you should work really hard your junior year of college, because after you graduate, it's probably not going to happen for you, right? And when I say probably not going to happen for you, I mean like with 98% accuracy, it's probably not going to happen for you. The other piece, and shout out to Pink Book Lesson, she brought this up. She was talking about a hurricane that happened in New Orleans,
Mm-hmm.
and she said, "Yeah, all you PhDs and you master's degree, six-figure earning women, you don't need a man until a hurricane happens,
Facts.
until the power shut off and there's flooding all around you. Yeah, be a strong black woman then." So again, a lot
We've
of
never
these
had to
things,
live that reality.
and that's the point. A lot of these things have been there's like a perpetual state of cognitive dissonance, because like you
Mm-hmm.
said, you've never had to live the reality, so you've never
Mm-hmm.
had to anticipate the reality of aging, the reality of natural disaster, the reality
Mm-hmm.
of fixing things around the house, the reality of health failing, the reality of do I want children? So there's this, oh, I can put it off. Now people are talking about freezing their eggs.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do the math about in vitro fertilization. They didn't do that. They didn't consider the reality of having to stick yourself in the stomach every day for months.
Isn't it really expensive?
It's expensive as shit. It's
Like
painful as shit,
who can be
and
who can afford that?
and 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 it's not fully effective. So you might do all that shit and still not have a kid. And then even let's say you're lucky and you have a kid. Now you're a single mother.
Right.
Congratulations. And now you're almost
Right.
guaranteed to
Right.
traumatize that child and put them in that same cycle of dysfunction. Congratulations, because you wanted to scratch some primitive itch of
Yep.
having a kid. right? Like I had one girl that I interviewed. She said she's finding a hard time getting a high value man. Um, you know, so she might just have her own kid by
Like a
herself.
man, high value man, and the monetary aspect of it.
The whole nine, the monetary aspect of it, the whole nine, to join with her in partnership so they can have children. So she said she might do it herself. I said, well, but boys need men, right? Like boys need male leadership and shit like that. And she was like, yeah, I'm gonna find a man to tutor my son or whatever the case may be. So I told her, I was like, so you're telling me it will be hard, it would be easier for you to find a man to sacrifice his time and impart his knowledge and wisdom on your son than to find a man to join in partnership with.
Right.
You gonna pay that nigga? And it's like, again, unfortunately, this is where Kevin Samuels comes in. Again, a lot of these fairy tale ideals have never been challenged. Women just get to think these things. And then you get around your friends and they just like double down on you believing nonsense.
Right.
It's insane to me. It's actually insane.
No, it's 100%. It's 100% insane. And I hate when I do this because I don't want to sound like I'm making excuses, but I am very like solution based. And it's like women I don't think that women are even thinking on this level that you are. Like yes, they hear it a gazillion times. It's just such a humbling ass conversation to have. I don't think they're even willing to wrap their minds around it. Like I refuse to think that all the times that Kevin Samuels ass, RIP, went up there and talked to these women, all the times his videos went viral, and still these women are just acting stupid and it's just not going into their brains. Like, we're talking about educated people for the most part, not 100%. People that can hold conversations are upstanding people. Y'all are just not getting it. And that's where I get frustrated. How many different freaking times are we going to have this same conversation? I mean, for real. It's been said for months and months and months now. So it leads me to believe that these women just cannot wrap their minds around it. Either that, or it's just something where they don't, like you were talking about, which you're 100% correct in, and when talking about our sexual currency and locking down a man that we want, this and that is an extremely humbling conversation to have. Especially, and I'm younger. I mean, I'm reaching my 30s, but being 36, 37 years old and having this conversation, that has to be so heartbreaking. That has to be so heartbreaking. Like, I can see it. I can see it. So it's like,
well,
put the blinders on. I don't even want to have the combo.
So my question would then be, is it more heartbreaking to find out you have cancer early and potentially be able to live a long time and maybe even go into remission, or find out when it's stage 4? Because again, we're not talking about something that might happen. We're talking about something that is happening. Even as you were saying when you were being pessimistic, you said 50 years or 20 years. People in the chat were saying 5.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are saying right now. So again, like, my message to women has been simple. It's been, number one, what do you want?
Mm-hmm.
How much is that thing worth to you? And what do you need to sacrifice? And for me, it's as simple as, if you work any job that you're proud of, what did you have to do to get it?
Mm-hmm.
I had to go to school. I had to earn this degree. I had to get these kind of references. I had to get these certificates, whatever the case may be, to qualify for an interview. But when it comes to this anomaly of a man that every woman wants, oh, he's just supposed to pull up to my castle that I don't have and pick up my slipper that I didn't drop.
Do you think that Black women won't settle down with a good Black man? Because you already know, I think that every woman has a man that would do everything for them. We've had that conversation a gazillion times.
Right.
Do you think that Black women won't settle down with a good Black man because they don't know how to coexist with men on a relationship level? Like, is it really just I want to find the man with the most money? Like, we know primitively women do want men with the resources. However, there are men. We live in the United States. There are men with resources that are extremely useful and they're good men, and you can settle down with one. Do you think that we just don't know how to we just don't know how to coexist with them? We don't know how to be in relationships because we just were not taught how to do that.
Well, I think number one, we're all overstimulated, and we all believe that our lives should be movies, right? Like, and even what we see, like when the material world is bad, like there's a recession, whatever the case may be, or unemployment, whatever the case may be, men tend to escape to like video games. Women tend to escape into like romance novels and movies, right? So even now, as the metaverse is being built, people are escaping into the virtual world. Like, so people on some level in general feel like they don't need to dialogue with reality. Reality is optional.
Right.
Like, remember when Kellyanne Conway a while back said alternative facts? Reality is optional. I may be born with a vagina, but I'm a man. I may be born with a penis, but I'm a woman, right? That's where we are. So I think that's number one. Number two, part of the capitalist machine is telling women, in order to continue selling them the same bullshit, that they're worth and worthy of everything. They don't need to change anything about themselves. You're beautiful at any size. You deserve, you deserve, you deserve. Because the more I can convince you you deserve, the more I can sell to you to buy. Right? So I think the consequence of that, and then the other things we talked about earlier, the consequence of that is women are unwilling to dial. And then the most important thing, they don't think Black men are even worth competing for, worth improving for, worth vying for. So I think there's that cognitive dissonance of, I don't, if it's not this, I don't want it.
Right.
Because I'm this. I'm 350 pounds and 5'4", but I'm this.
Right.
I'm disagreeable. I haven't been able to hold a relationship down for more than a month, but I'm this. Right. And even now, with the passing of Kevin Samuels, we're even seeing it on Kendra G. You got 40-year-old, 50-year-old women coming in saying, "Yeah, I can't settle for a man who doesn't make six figures." And I'm like, "Grandma, you need to chill.
Come on now.
What's that man what that man gonna do with you? He wants a legacy."
The wheels don't be turning in our head sometimes, and it's like if you look around, say for example, you're a 15-year-old and you get in a lot of trouble, you see the OGs all going to fucking jail for 30 years. Why would you continue to do the same thing? Like, it's just like, look around. Women have been, well, maybe not women, but men have been having this conversation, y'all. It's time for us to look around and be like, okay, maybe something's not working. And that's what I'm saying, in 50 years, 30 years, that's when it's really going to be like, But then the way that capitalism works, man, I'm telling you, they will find a way to capitalize it and make it cushy and spin the narrative yet again to where the outcome doesn't look as bad. And that's scary. That's very scary. And that does take a lot of accountability on our part. And there's just a lot of factors at play, and it's obviously not one size fits all. So the question is, where do we start? And I am happy that Black men are having more of these conversations, because at the end of the day, I love my people. And if Black men are working on themselves, working on their purpose, working on their masculinity, you can't be upset with that. You can't. If some people got to get left behind, then some people just got to get left behind. It's stressful.
It's sad, man, because you know the saying, it's easier to build strong children and repair broken men. you know. But goddamn, like it's like you don't want to leave people behind, and ultimately, like I've been saying, black women are the ones who are going to suffer.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, black women are the ones who are going to continue to be left because even this whole protect black women movement or black women are the most unprotected shit like that. Like you know how many niggas are in prison behind protecting black women?
Mm-hmm.
Now because of social media, because of video content, we're seeing two brothers pull up to their sister's baby daddy's house and get killed.
Mm-hmm.
But niggas ain't protecting black. A nigga comes to a bodega and gets killed. But niggas ain't.
Mm-hmm.
A woman calls her son to McDonald's. He kills people. Now he's going to prison for life. The niggas ain't protecting black. Like it's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, and it is very low vibrational. It is, and it's I don't know. I was driving earlier and I was looking around because where I live, there's a lot of construction. And I was looking around at all these men. And I live in Atlanta, so it was hot this summer. And I'm like, yo, these men really come out here. I know this is a little bit beside the point, but I'm going to rein it back in. But I was just thinking, these men really come out here 40 hours a week in this heat building shit. Good men. Good men out here building shit. If they're all single in relationships, who knows? But it's like these are the men that these women are really looking down on. Like, damn, I wouldn't want to be out there building shit. I don't like to build shit.
Right.
And these are the
Right.
men that these women, good men that these women are looking down on. It's craziness. It really is craziness. But, you know, as long as black men, I think black men stay on their shit, we have a lot to do as well. But I guess this might contradict a little bit of what I was saying at the beginning about us giving our power away, but I think a lot of this movement that we're on and progressing the community is going to have a lot to do with black men finally tapping into their masculinity and the fullness of it, and setting those boundaries. And if we show up, we show up.
But here's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because for the past few weeks, and some of the viewers know this, not even recently, but a few weeks ago, I had a bit of a friction with the Save Yourself Black Man community, and as a
I
consequence,
remember.
also the Passport Bros, right? Because they're kind of adjacent to one another. Unfortunately, as much as I don't think that their solution is the right one from a community standpoint, because I'm community first, it's hard to continue to tell them that. And unfortunately, I think one of the consequences that we're going to see is we're going to see a mass exodus of the
Black men?
caliber of black men that these no, not black men, no, Pookie and Ray Ray still going to be here, but the caliber of
Okay,
the Russells are leaving, and I don't think our women have an appreciation of what that means.
Yeah.
I do not think our women have an appreciation because again, like the men that women are complaining about in mass, they're not going anywhere. Why would they? They got 8 baby mamas. You know what I'm saying? They can get pussy next week, tomorrow. Like they're good. They're exciting. They're the guy at the table with the table at the club, but he hasn't taken care of none of his kids. No, they'll be here. It's their playground. But the man who's gonna lock it down and make an honest woman out of you and all the shit you complain that Pookie doesn't do, but you try to scapegoat the good guy for, he's just simply going to leave. And our women are going to be left in this self-fulfilling prophecy of expecting bad men and projecting those negative expectations of good men, running them off, and seeing more bad men. And you know,
I think that's going to change I think that's going to shift the community entirely if that happens. If we have a mass exit of black men leaving the Western world and moving to these other places, I don't know what shift or change it's going to have, but that's most definitely going to shift community, because then the manosphere won't exist anymore. I'm not gonna say it won't exist anymore, but if the I guess passport bros, they probably emulate a lot of manosphere ideologies, I'm assuming. I haven't really looked or researched too much into them, but I can see men going their own way. You know, they're moving and marrying Filipino women, blah blah blah. Then who's gonna head this conversation anymore in the aspect of the manosphere? I mean, obviously there's always going to be YouTube channels like yours and, you know, different, but if Black men then shift their views or shift their energy away from Black women, then where does that leave the space? And where does that, is that a positive thing? Does that then leave more space for those communities that do have a more positive vibe about it?
Well, so, you know, part of the reason why I don't have as much of an issue with the passport bros is because as a Pan Africanist, like, I just want you with a Black woman, right? I'm not as picky about where she's from. No. They save yourself, Black men, guys. The passport guys, I think, you know, we understand each other a little bit more. But I'm not American, right? Like, I came over here. My daughter's mom is American, right? So for me, it's just get you a Black woman. If you got to find her overseas, that's cool, but get you a Black woman. Now, I'm also simultaneously having the conversation of, unfortunately, the women here do set the precedent of what women are going to be globally, because America's chief export is entertainment and culture and the whole nine. So, like, you even see men who bring women from overseas over here, and it turns out the same as if they met her here. Because again, being acculturated in that toxic culture, it happens. So that's number one. I don't mind if it's a foreign woman as long as she's Black. Number two, I want us to simply maintain a community focus, right? Because a lot of times, like, when we leave the community, not men in particular, but even women too, like, we assimilate to that community, and our money goes to that community, our resources go to that community, our intellectual property goes to that community, and we desperately need it. So, you know, if that Black man, and I've had Black men reach out who were married to Asian women, but yo, they investing in the community. They, you know what I'm saying, they Black power with it and the whole nine. I can get down with that, but I'm just, it's not the rule. Yeah, it's definitely not the rule. But it happens. But I'm hoping.
Can it happen
through this? Yeah. No. So I will say this: I don't think you can be thoroughly pro-Black with a non-Black woman. I will say that. However, I think you can still put in work, right?
If the mindset is I'm going in partnering with a non-Black woman, that's a mindset that then I feel like is going to infiltrate future generations to where Blackness will then be washed out eventually. If we're going with that.
That's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying. A lot of men are doing this because they feel a sense of, like, hopelessness. They feel like there is no option. I need a wife. I'm trying to have kids. These women are just fucking fucked up. So I'm just going to get something I can deal with, I can manage, and move forward. Listen, and again, this isn't my solution. I'm just trying to translate what's happening. Now, these men are successful men. These men are way older than me, much more intelligent than me, but this is their experience. Some of them were married already. I know men right now getting divorces from women that did nothing for them. They paid all the bills. They made the honest woman out of her. She didn't work. She didn't do nothing. You know, so if we can start paying homage to these Black men's experiences, these Black men's stories, and not just over inundating the streams and the media waves with Color Purple and Tyler Perry, we can have a more balanced conversation. And like, as much as y'all need empathy, we do too.
Yeah.
We deserve empathy. We deserve empathy. You know, a lot of these women talking about a high value man. Your grandpa wasn't a high value man.
Mm-hmm.
Your dad sure as hell wasn't a high value man. And even for the ones who had good dads, like he wasn't a high value man, but he worked his ass off. He was diligent, and he made sure you had a comfortable life. But again, if you keep prioritizing, oh, I think we lost her. She'll be back. If you guys are just joining us, welcome. We're having a conversation with one of our former guests, reviewing some of her comments under the video. So she was on episode 1, 2, I think 1, 2, 5, and 1, 2, 4, and 15. So you guys make sure to check those out. It's in the comment. Let's see, Rob T, shout out to you, man. I've seen you in the comments. I've tried to stay on topic, but welcome, Abuki. I see you, my brother. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here. Chuck, thank you so much, brother. And thank you for the Cash App the other day, man. Thank you so much. Your support is invaluable. He says, OMG, as a dude working in the intellectual property space, this is frustrating. I can imagine. He also says, we create almost everything. I watch it either get diluted or taken by other groups, all because the black relationship is damaged. That's a fact. Jamar777 with the super chat, he says, the safety net is being cut away. Cleanup men are not going to undergird the self-destruction tendencies of black women. Black identity will adapt. Swahili people are viewed as black. They are mixed with Arab. This is true. Can't argue with that. Kademia, shout out to you, brother. He says, I'm hella late. What's the topic? So we've got Sid. So Sid was from episode 1, 2, 4, and 15. And we are reviewing some of her comment section, and we are also just having a dialogue, man. Right now, Sid, if you're ready, let's jump to the Donovan Sharp video with what's her name? What's the white girl's name? Just Pearly Things and Femme Sapien. This is before they blew up, because Just Pearly Things, I think she's damn near 200 right now, 200K. So if you're ready, we'll jump in there.
Can you see me?
Ready? I can see you.
Okay. Sorry about that. Let's do it.
Is you ready? All right, let's do it. All right, so this is how we're gonna do it. So this is the video right here.
Oh, I've seen her. Oh yeah, I see her all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, it's all coming together.
Yeah, so they reviewed you. So yeah, Donovan Sharp is
she's making a lot of women very angry on TikTok.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Donovan Sharp, he's in the manosphere space. I think he and I are on two different places, but you know, that's beside the point. Just Pearly Things, she's in the manosphere space as well, and getting a lot of traction. And then Femme Sapien also getting a lot of traction. So they actually reviewed one of your videos. So I will play the video, and I might skip around, and you stop me when you would like to jump in and comment. Sound like a plan?
Sounds good.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. And when it starts playing, y'all just just let me know in the chat if you can hear it. Okay. All right, cool.
Up, guys? It's your man Donovan Sharp, and welcome to this evening edition of TSR Primetime. We are going to be reviewing a video from a channel called WeNeedToTalk, and you guys will see that in a few minutes. First, let me introduce tonight's panelist. First up from across the pond, it is 1 o'clock in the morning there?
Yeah.
1 o'clock in the morning on the England side. It is Pearl Davis. How you doing, Pearl?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. You look younger and happier for some reason. Like, what's going on over there? Have you found a guy? What's up?
No guy. I don't know. I'm just in a better place recently.
Okay, yeah, it certainly seems that way, especially what with the podcast.
Oh, I think I lost it. Hold on 1 second. My bad, guys. Let me get that back up. All right, we're back.
I don't know. I'm just in a better place recently.
Okay, yeah, it certainly seems that way, especially what with the podcast you guys just had. How did that go? I mean, that was kind of your maiden voyage. It looked like you guys were having some fun.
It was a lot of fun. There's a lot that you don't think about when you're running that kind of thing. So
Yes.
there's definitely room for improvement, but I
Yes.
think it's actually going to be something really cool.
Good. What did you learn? What did you learn on that podcast that you didn't know or realize before?
What did I learn on that podcast?
Among other things, about running a podcast.
Oh, about running a podcast. Oh my gosh, it's really hard to get the girls to like shut up. Like I'm pretty agreeable, so it doesn't really come naturally to me to be like you've been taught like you need to like not, you know.
Well, I can teach you some tricks that I used because I moderate almost everything, and there are certain things that you can do and say that sort of move the conversation along, lets the other person know, hey, it's somebody else's turn to talk without being a dick or a bitch about it. So we'll certainly talk about that behind the scenes. Next up, the newly married, formerly Allie V. She is now Allie D. Allie has secured the bag in the form of a marriage. So let me be the first to congratulate you, Mrs. D. How's it feel?
Thank you. It feels really good, and I will say we've consummated the marriage, and it was hot. It was great. Highly recommend it.
Good. You consummated it several times. That's always very, very good.
Man,
Always
you know,
very good.
I'm trying to tell these women, like, if you could have good bedroom fun for the rest of your life, why would you say no? Why would you say no?
I'm trying to tell you. But seriously, congratulations. Like you're what this community is about, man. We're about cultivating good relationships between men and women. When you first started out, you were engaged. I remember when you were on Kevin Samuels, you kind of went through a come to Jesus moment there. You turned on the feminine charm, and boom, just like that, you got the ring.
Pow. Yes, it works.
Wait.
That's why I stick around and listen to you guys. I mean, y'all are fabulous mentors, no lie.
You were on Kevin Samuels? I didn't even know.
Oh yes, she was.
I called him to ask what gift to get Tom, and then he told me that I need to reevaluate my relationship and also my own quality of self. So if you want to know the truth, call Kevin. It turned out to be good. So
dress size. Yeah, Kevin will give it to you straight. He gives it to you. He's one of the smartest people I know. But I'm glad that you were able to parlay that and your mentorship.
Did you have any thoughts so far?
Yeah, they seem very disingenuous. They rub me the wrong way.
Say more.
I don't know, like something about the white woman rubs me the wrong way. How she has, which let me preface this by saying I don't disagree with what their stances are 100%. This one I saw, she was talking about slavery, I think on TikTok, and she was just like, it was almost as if she didn't come out and straight up say that the Atlantic slave trade was not. She pretty much was saying that slavery existed everywhere. It was kind of dismissive of our experience. At least that's the way it came off to me. So she was kind of rubbing me the wrong way anyways. But the white woman, I don't know, she just doesn't seem genuine. And she seems very masculine. But she also talks about how women need
Are you talking about this one or the white girl? Because they both look white.
the white, like the one that she looks like
The
she
white
might be-
one.
Yeah, the white one, the white woman.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think she's Hispanic. Yeah, and that actually goes to this this comment by Otto Williams. He says, "I stopped watching Pearly Things. She has no clue about Black people history. She didn't know what Black Wall Street via Tulsa, Oklahoma. Better stop interacting with her." Yeah,
Oh,
and you know the late Kevin Samuels is also wary of even white women coming on the platform trying to give Black women advice. Right. This is an exclusively Black conversation. There's a lot of context. There's a lot of nuance to this conversation, and it's important that we safeguard that. Unfortunately, some people like hearing certain information come from non-Black women, but you know that's another conversation. But you know,
yes.
she's having success on YouTube and TikTok right now. You know, more power to her. But we're doing
They're not saying
different
anything
over
new,
here.
and that's another thing.
Right.
They're not saying
Right.
anything that's hasn't been said before. They're just
Right.
white women saying it. So
Right. Okay. Let's skip ahead to when they talk about you. All right.
This is the one thing that really stands out to me here is the fact that it's like, you know, I'm gonna feel I want to eat better, sleep better. This again, we're better together, but unfortunately, we're not really doing that well with it. So here we go.
Oh, he's talking about Benny Starr's song. That's
yeah.
I'm scared.
She's scared.
Right.
Here we go.
And again, you have to speak for Black women, so this has to be a what is it called, femme noir perspective.
Okay.
Why does the word submission trigger y'all?
Damn.
I feel like these questions aren't that difficult.
Merch.
They're not.
It's difficult from a woman's perspective because women don't want to wrap their minds around it. And I think that's why women are not okay with that word. Because
that's interesting. So in her mind, she says women don't want to wrap their minds around submission. Hold on, let me let her finish.
They don't want to inherently accept. How do we get there?
Okay, so what do you think, Allie? She says women don't want to wrap their minds around submission, and I'm assuming this is why women don't want to submit. What are your thoughts on that? That doesn't really make much sense, does it?
So it does and it doesn't, but it's mostly, it just goes to show you how feminism can infiltrate minority communities. And I'm just going to keep it a stack. I'm Puerto Rican from the hood. So Black problems are also my problems that I had growing up in my neighborhood.
Okay.
And what they talk about, like, you know, single mothers, my family's full of them. And I love my aunts. They're amazing women in many regards, but it's women of that sort of lifestyle that they get triggered the most when they hear the word submission. They've never run across a dominant man or a man who's worth being led by in order to submit. That's one thing. And the other thing is too, is sometimes you'll watch women and they'll say that they don't submit to their men, but they're the first ones out there fixing him a plate. So they just don't like how the word sounds. They would prefer it if you said joyful cooperation, but then also women don't want to believe that they have to contribute in relationships these days.
Oh shit. Wow. Okay. Allie said she was going to keep it a stack, and that's exactly what she did.
Thoughts?
There's something so cringy, like there's something so cringy about non-Black women that have no vested interest in the wellness of Black women having so much to say, but it's like you can't be upset because she's right. It's so cringy to me. It's just such a weird, like, little feeling because she's not incorrect. It just comes from I don't know. It just seems like it doesn't come from a genuine place. It comes from like feels like it comes from like a pointing fingers place, or like I don't know. I don't know the word for it. I don't know. It's just cringy. It's just cringy. But she's not incorrect. It was interesting. She said the same women that will say that they don't want to submit will go and fix their man a plate. They just don't want to say the word. That's absolute facts. I think the word submission has been characterized in such a bad light that people don't want to say it, but it's like you are doing something similar. You just don't want to call it submission, but that's 100% what it is. I don't know, that was two different points.
No, I think, you know, part of the reason, and I've said before, you're only going to see a black person, whether it's fully black or, you know, half black on the couch, is because for me, this particular conversation is exclusively black. There's a birthright that you need to have to engage in this. And when I say black, I mean internationally black. So because some of the women, contrary to popular belief or opinion, some of the women who sat on that couch have been Nigerian. Some of the women have been, you know, one woman, we did a stream, she's in Kenya. One woman is Haitian, you know. So the idea that the problem is just African American women, it's I wish that was the case, but it's not. So, you know, so for me to see white women come into the conversation, it's uncomfortable, definitely. However, I think it speaks to how far gone that we are. Like, unfortunately, because a lot of our men can't find catharsis in their own women, they have to find it in a white woman on the internet. That's what makes me sad. They have to find it in me. They have to find it in Kevin Samuels. They have to find it in Dr. Tiasan Johnson, Abu Kip Kabal. Like, that's what makes me sad. And I think it's about time a delegation of black women, and that's why I'm so excited about Courtney Michelle. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she is about to do something monumental, and she is about to take charge of the women talking to women conversation, and I think that's going to be super powerful. I'm excited to see where that goes, and I hope you participate in that as well, because your voice is powerful.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You talk all the time. We've talked all the time about like how there's no real leadership in the black community when it comes to females. So yeah, absolutely. That's super dope. But as far as what you were saying about the white woman conversation, should it matter who, like, of course I believe it should matter. But you were saying a little bit ago that some black women will listen to white women before they even listen to their own black men, which is absolutely facts. So should we get upset at these two white women on this? I don't even know anything about Donovan Sharp, but I just think it's interesting that, does he have any black women with him? Like, does he invite black women to his channel, or is it just white women usually? He doesn't come off very pro-black to me. I don't know anything about him.
So what's ironic is I did an interview. I did an interview on what's the name of the channel? But my boy Glass's channel. I want to make sure I pronounce it properly. I think it's called. So if you go to the playlist section on the channel, you will see the playlist entitled Interviews and Collaborations. And it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th video down, a channel called Important Miscellaneous Topics and Discussions, I believe. But on that interview, I said to him that I actually do not want certain people to review my content. And one of the people I named was Donovan Sharp. Now, what's funny is at the time when I said this, I wasn't there. I may have had 2,000 subscribers or 3,000 subscribers. I had no idea that he actually would. He's a big YouTuber. I think he's got 100 and something thousand at this point.
Yeah.
And the reason that I said I wouldn't want him to review it is because my content is primarily at least I hope I've positioned it to be pro-black first.
Mm-hmm.
And I also do not believe that you can be pro-black without, vocally talking about blackness and talking about how that colors your movement through the world and how that colors your relationship with the world and your own people. And I also don't think you could be pro-black and marry a white woman.
And he's married to a white
Catch a
woman.
lot of heat for that. He's married to a white woman.
I know that the girl, the Puerto Rican girl I saw on TikTok, she said she worked under Candace Owens. So that says a lot too.
I thought you liked Candace Owens.
I do like Candace Owens. I do like.
Oh, that's another conversation. But basically, yeah. But basically, like I said, I didn't want him to review the content, but he did. And for me, I want people who are invested in the improvement of our community and invested in our community, like they're welcome to critique our community. But if you are gone, and I've said this before, and this is why I call heat with the Save Yourselves Bros. I said, if you're gone, be gone. But people are monetizing simply just talking, and God bless them, but that's not what we're doing here. But
right. I mean,
maybe he brought some eyes over here.
It gave you a little bit of exposure, I guess. So it's like, hey, might not agree with everything that he says or anything that he says, but he's not looking at your channel as like, I want to highlight this pro-black channel. That's not how he's looking at it. Even at the beginning, his comment about he said something about how we're all.
This is just, and then that's the thing. Like even when I was in college with the We Need to Talk branches, like I shut down branches when they started talking for the sake of talking. I'm very keen on why we're having conversation. Right. And again, even though, as you can see here, he's got 154,000 subs, only 80,000 people watched this video. It did nothing for our channel. So true. For me, and this is why, some people have asked, why haven't I gone on like a Lapeef network? This is why, because at the end of the day, if the conversation is not going to be productive to the bigger picture of what I'm trying to do, simply just exposure for the sake of, like, if this was like a media opportunity, sure, but like, how it might get 100, 200, 300 subs, like that doesn't mean much in the big picture. So for me, I prioritize like the work that we're trying to do here, and we're really just trying to, number one, reframe this conversation properly, away from just pointing the fingers at each other and understanding the nuances of how we operate in this white supremacist world. And then secondly, if we can just approach conversation with each other differently, I think we can start moving in the right direction. And thankfully, I think we're making some type of impact. Like when I see some of the comments, when I see some of the emails that I get, some of the messages, some people even called me. I'm encouraged by that. But you want me to keep going?
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right, let me skip ahead a bit. Let me see.
I want to hear the white woman talk.
The best boss, and I think that's choose who to work for.
Well, women don't want to really wrap their minds around this. That's why they're triggered when they hear the word submit.
When girls hear that word, they often think of a relationship where they have no say in anything ever. When I think of submission, I think of picking a CEO. You can choose who to work for, and not all CEOs are the same.
Okay.
There's a very big difference between, we've all had bosses that we absolutely adored and bosses that we absolutely hated. So, and it's up to you to pick the best boss. And I think that's like, girls just think of it as like a dictatorship at times.
There you go. Deb in the chat says the action or fact of accepting or yielding to a superior force or to the will or authority of another person. It looks like she looked up the Webster's dictionary version of submission. Yes, Devin is very submissive to me.
Learn how you can become a foster or adoptive parent. I firmly believe that every kid needs to have a family, and they should.
But she absolutely has a say. But the reason she has a say is because she has earned that say. A lot of men want women to submit to them, but they're not worth submitting to. But then by the same token, when they're worth submitting to, they find a woman and she does not want to be submissive because, well, I'm not going to be part of a dictatorship. I think that's probably lost in the translation. That's a very good word there, bro.
We get to this point. If we're not even willing to accept the word, we're definitely not going to be willing to accept what God has said.
So thoughts on that? And submission, since the video.
My thoughts on submission?
Yeah.
Because
I remember what you said, since the video, but like, have you thought about it differently since then?
No, I think it's still pretty much the same. I don't think that submission should ever equate to slavery or having to completely take away your voice. I also think like the woman said, you pick, it's all in who you pick. Submission also, for some reason, society has a way of correlating it with alpha men. Like when you think about submitting, you can only submit to an alpha man who makes all the decisions, this and that. But you can also submit to a man that allows for you to have more of a voice. Like he said he allows she worked to have a voice or something like that. Like, okay, I could see where women might be looking at that like, that sounds wild. Like, why not? Why could I not have a voice from the beginning? But yeah, no, like I said in the video previously, like submission doesn't have to mean that like I'm slaving for you or that I, completely lose my identity or that I don't have a voice. That's not what it has to mean. And I don't think that a man has to make a certain amount of money or do certain things for you to submit to him. And I think that men are predisposed with a set of characteristics that just make them better leaders. And I don't think that women want to lead inherently. I really don't. I don't think that, there might be some women that want a household, but like from a primal perspective, nah. And men are just better suited for that. Better decision makers, in my opinion, from what I've seen. They're more decisive from what I've seen. I'm extremely indecisive. And she at the beginning talked about disagreeableness and agreeableness. Like these are just qualities that men just were born with and that God gave them to be able to get to a certain goal when it comes to leading a family. And the same for women, that we naturally are just better at and we rest in it, and I don't know why people have an issue with that. And it almost seems as though you just have an issue with what the gender that you were assigned, like that God gave you. Like, is that the problem? Like, why do you want to be so loud and so disagreeable? And like, I know that you're going to have issues saying this. I don't think I have a lot of friends that are like disagreeable and combative, because I'm not a disagreeable and combative person. And I don't think I attract that in friendships. But I think that Black women have had a history of having to be the leaders for so long that it's been passed through generations and it's just stuck and it's become the new normal. But I would guarantee that women don't want to play that role. Like you see it with the whole, I'm ranting, so give me about 30 more seconds. You see it with the whole soft life thing that Black women have gone into. We want to talk about living a soft life. We don't really want to talk about what that means and what you're going to have to sacrifice in that. And if you're providing a soft life for yourself, then is that really a soft life? Because then you're just doing everything for yourself. And that's, I don't know. So yeah, that's the end of my rant. But no, to answer your question, my views on submission has not changed. That was the long answer.
Okay. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
And I want you to be as honest as you can. Okay. You're saying all the right things.
Yeah.
What has been the challenge for you? Yeah. What's been the challenge for you as far as finding a man worthy of submitting to?
I think there's two big things. I think the first being that I think in the last year or two, getting myself prepared to be in a long-term relationship and to be a wife, I think is the first thing. I didn't think I was ready for that just yet. Not ready as far as I wanted to be out in these streets, but just ready as far as working on myself, making sure I'm a healthy version of myself. And secondly, I have a deep appreciation, and what I see in my partner is somebody who's intellectually stimulating for me. And I think that that intellectual is going to exhibit a lot of the properties that I see when I think about how they're going to raise my children. And I don't know that I've come across men that possess that. I don't know if I have. And I say I don't know if I have because I know women can be guilty of Xing out men for petty reasons, because I feel like I've done that in the past. That's why I'm like, I don't know if I have. I might have, but I overlooked them for some reason. But that's a big reason for me. Intellectually, I haven't really met somebody that's on my level, I guess you could say.
Okay, so is it that you haven't met people who are on your level, or you haven't been able to attract or retain people who are on your level?
That could be a thing. That can definitely be a thing. I don't know. I really do not like this question. It makes you get so introspective. I think that I've attracted men in the past that are. I don't know if my lack of readiness allowed for me to retain them though. Yeah, I don't know. If I was ready or capable of being a wife to those individuals, or being a long-term partner to those individuals. But I can say that I don't really date men older than me. You know how like Jordan Peterson, the intellectuals, they say like women usually date men 3, 4, 5 years older than them. I don't date men older than me. I usually attract men that are around my age. And sometimes they're very immature. And that's what I've been finding. So I don't know, give me some tips, Dr. Oak. Give me some tips. People in the chat watching.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, it starts with self-awareness. A lot of times we're not willing to confront our own bullshit, right? Yeah. So that's a conversation you need to have with yourself. Yeah. But I think basically, I look at it as a job. What job do you want? What's the description? What are the requirements? And because we can all rattle off what we want, but it's harder for us sometimes to say what we want once. Mm-hmm. Like what would that guy want? And am I that? Can I become that? Can I become that in time? Because that's a completely different conversation. And I think we do that with jobs and we do that with opportunities. Yeah. But again, because we don't value men, we don't do that with men. We don't start from the perspective of what we want. We just start with our perspective and we feel deserving of it.
Yeah, that's very, very true, actually. I don't think I've really sat down and done like an exercise or like an audit of like what the type of man that I want wants. I think I've just lived life, and I like to think that I've worked on myself and being the best version of myself to where, I don't know, like I would hope that I did attract somebody that could meet that best version of myself, but I've never really like sat down and journaled like what type of woman does the man that I want. So maybe that's something that I should sit down and do. So yeah, and you're right. It does take a level of self-awareness, because these are conversations that would trigger a lot of people. I'm a little bit more open-minded. I like to think to where I love these convos, but it can be triggering, especially to women. It's like, what are you talking about? I'm the best.
Right.
But
and
yeah.
my thing has always been like, that's harmful, right? You can think you run a 4.4 and bench to like 350 pounds, but if you can't do that, you will get hurt. Like, you will literally get hurt when, on the football field, you run up against somebody who can run a 4.4 and does bench 350 pounds. And similarly in life, it happens. Like, if women like insist on living in a delusion of, I am just this shit just cause however I show up, I should be wanted because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. It gives no room for improvement, right? So, in as much as
No, you're right.
uh, like I say with jobs, like, exactly what that job wants. You know exactly what that candidate needs to be. You know how that candidate is supposed to show up to the job interview, and you become that. Now, if you think, that caliber of man is worth a similar type of effort, then you will do those same things. But if not, then what tends to happen in life is we fall into a cycle of confirmation bias. If I don't work for what I want, I will get what I get, and I'll think that's all that's available.
Yeah. When we have these conversations about like high value men, because I think about, I'm getting like real vulnerable in this chat right now, but if we were to sit down and talk, and we have talked about this in the past, me and you, if we were to sit down and talk about the qualities that I would want in a man, obviously I would like for my man to have the resources to take care of myself and my children, but I'm not really an excessive individual. I'm a pretty simple person. So having a man that has to make six figures, 250K plus, blah, 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 that's not really me. So operating in that space, I think that like a lot of the relationships, or a lot of the way that we talk about relationships, sometimes I feel like the humanity of it is kind of taken out of the combo. And yes, we need to talk about the fact that, a woman should keep herself up, and a man needs to be, he needs to be focusing on his purpose. All those things we talk about femininity and masculinity, but we don't ever talk about, like, I feel like the spiritual side of things. And we don't really talk about, yeah, we can get married, but how are we going to sustain this marriage? And I think a lot of that sustenance is going to come from, spiritual and emotional intelligence. So that's another conversation I don't feel like we have. And I think it's just as important of having the conversation of, if you want a man that makes a certain amount of money, then you need to be, this type of woman. So I guess that's kind of where it gets kind of complex.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I agree. And I think partly it's because we think of relationships as an aesthetic. We think of relationships as, simply cutesy dates and trips and shit like that, as opposed to the utility of it. Like, a relationship, at least for men, it's literally signing up to say that I'm willing to risk my life for this person. Literally. So when we see like men, and women are quick to say, "Oh, he ain't shit because he didn't wife me up after a month." Like, no, that's an important decision that man needs to make. He needs time. But again, women are all moving around like, "Oh yeah, I deserve protection from every fucking body, and I ain't listening to no goddamn body." So you deserve a man's protection without being willing to accept his direction. And then you rush him into signing up to sacrifice himself for you if it came down to it. So like men tend to be, not all the time, but we tend to be more practical about what it is that we're signing ourselves up for. And because we're more practical about what it is that we're signing ourselves up for, we prioritize things that are sustainable. Like how do we communicate and what kind of lives can we build together in the whole nine. Whereas unfortunately, because of these fairy tales, a lot of our women are simply just prioritizing how it looks. So tell me, what don't you know?
I don't know, because I know a lot of emotionally unintelligent men. A lot of men that are horrible communicators. Now, I do with men might be a little bit more logical in the way they move when getting into relationships, and the I can't even say that, because you see a lot of men that wife up just the worst women. You're like, why did you choose her? So I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that, man. Like, I think that on both sides, there's things to work on when it comes to the actual union, as the union goes. And I think that ties into a lot of the healing that the Black community has to do. But I can't confidently say that I think that men are more practical in thinking about the sustenance that goes into sustaining a relationship. I don't know if that's a thing from what I've seen.
I think it is generally.
Yeah.
Say that again. I lost you.
You think so? I'm here.
I think it is because we don't romanticize it. Like there was a Patrice O'Neal joke, R.I.P. Back in the day, and he was like, if you went to a club that was sectioned off based on men who were in relationships, men who were single, women who were in relationships, women who were single, the men who were single and the women who were in relationships in both their respective sections would look happy and they'd be having a great time. Mm-hmm. And the men who were in relationships and the women who were single in their respective sections would look miserable. Mm-hmm. Right? Because again, men understand that being in a relationship comes with sacrificing our freedom, sacrificing our autonomy, sacrificing our ability to just live in a 1-bedroom apartment or a studio with just a couch. Right now, we got to do all this extra shit that we don't really care about typically, but in service of creating a home with our wife, right? So it's not an exciting proposition. Like when a nigga figures out he loves a woman, typically it's like, ah, damn, I love her.
Right.
Whereas women, it's an event. Oh my gosh, I just found out I love Brad. Like it's a happy occurrence. Mm-hmm. Whereas men is, god damn, I love this shit. Right. And again, I think
part of it is this programming.
You said what?
So when did it get this complicated? Like our ancestors and our parents, our grandparents didn't have to do, like, it didn't be all this hustle and the bustle for two people to come together and have a family. Like, dang. I do think I live in it.
Mm-hmm. No, go ahead. It was
go ahead.
Conflicting. No, go ahead. The signal was off. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I don't see why like this has to be just like this huge thing.
Well, to be fair, I think we romanticize our grandparents' generation. I don't think it was all sunshine and roses the way that we think it was. I think the difference now is that whether fortunately or unfortunately, women now are more honest than ever, unapologetic, brash. But I think a lot of these changes have been happening over time. Like I think your grandma is the reason your mom is the way she is. Your mom is the reason you're the way you are. You're the reason your daughter's the way she is. Boom, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. But I think the difference now is that we don't necessarily need each other for the practical reasons that we used to.
Of survival.
Right? Like, exactly. Like, grandma stuck with grandpa back in the day because she needed that nigga. Like, she couldn't work, or she didn't have a job, or her income wasn't enough to sustain herself. Whereas now, a lot of women feel like, if I can't have Prince Charming, I don't want anything. And that is to minimize the role of a man, to simply just his ability to provide. But I think that's the big difference that we're seeing.
Yeah. That sounds like a very sad existence to live, being 70 years old with no legacy on a man and a woman's side. Like, if we keep, well, okay, here's another recent thing that I've been seeing on TikTok, which kind of, I don't even know, it just was heartbreaking to see these women and their reactions. So the story about how men are more single than ever, or something along those lines. I didn't read this story. And then you have
single and miserable, right?
Right. And then you have the women that are just so happy that this broke. Like, they're just like, finally. And I'm just like, from just a human perspective, why would you be happy about something like that? Like, that's really sad. But it's just like, to think about us all looking around at 70, 80 years old, with no legacy, lonely, like, that's just not the life that we want to live. And women can say that they want to live that life and that they want to be single forever with their cats and like make that joke. But from a human perspective, that's going to be a horrible existence, because it's just, I feel like that's the fruit of life. That's what we're here working for, is to have a legacy, you know?
So why do you think so many women were, I guess, celebrating that?
I knew you were going to ask me that question, because I was thinking about this a lot. I was like, why are y'all so happy about this? Like, I saw so many TikToks of just women just so elated that men are just finally single. And it's like, misery loves company, man. Misery loves company. I feel like women, I don't know, like, I just feel like women, how do I put this? Those women are very sad within themselves. So it's kind of like a I gotcha type of thing, where it's like, I guess, if from the manosphere perspective, if you do see men in the manosphere always talking about how women are going to die alone, this and that, which is a huge conversation, and then you read an article like that, it's kind of like, oh, so what were y'all talking about? Here. But still, like I said, from a human perspective, why would you be happy about something like that? Why would you be happy about hearing that Black men are more single than ever? Because that means that your community is not doing very well. But Black women don't, Black people in general, we don't be thinking like that sometimes. Like, we don't think about how this is going to affect the community. We just are so individual. We think about ourselves. That's sad. And that means that Black men are lonely. And yeah, they might have their homeboys, maybe, but we don't want, I don't want to think about Black men being lonely. That sounds sad to me. That sounds like a recipe for disaster. But Black women don't think like that in our generation. Why do you think that women were so happy to read the article?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it's misery loves company, but I also think it goes back to the whole cognitive dissonance thing. They don't realize that what's actually happening is, number one, some men are leaving and going overseas, and number two, and Dr. Johnson talks about this as well, some men are deciding, just fuck it, I'm gonna just be a player forever, or I'm gonna just be a monk. And I think what women fail to realize is that men are more equipped to be alone than women are. Like, females of any species are socialized to be in groups because they require the group to survive. Men are more, built, equipped to be on our own. So what you're talking about, like the communities of Exactly, the community of 50-year-old women who group together and form like fucking compounds and shit. Yeah, y'all need some, and this is why women tend to group things so much easier than men, even with bullshit. Um, but yeah, I think at its core though, it's just like it's not just us, but for every single man, there are going to be about 5 single women. Unfortunately, that's the reality. Because again, like women are hoarding around the same few dudes, and eventually those dudes are going to make a choice or choices, and there are going to be a lot of women who, yeah, they got the dick, but they're going to be left out to dry. So graciousness says solutions to some of these questions: marriage counseling. Speak to your father about how to find a suitable man. Emulate good qualities you see from family that have healthy, fruitful, long-term relationships. Shout out to you for the super chat, brother. Condemnia says misery loves company is the correct answer. Absolutely. Abuki says great show. Eli says finally, thanks, Alan. Appreciate it, brother. Jamar Jamfar, I'm sorry, he says the thing is men have always dealt with the reality of dying alone. Black men particularly. How many black slaves died without sniffing poom poom? Hey, you're saying something right there. Chuck says, funnily, I'm in a tax bracket that guarantees I won't die alone. Ha ha ha. It'll only happen if I fixate on these unhealthy black women.
Jeesh.
Again, that is the reality. These men that women are saying they want, y'all are still treating them like they ain't shit. And it's like niggas like me are saying, yo, like he's checking all the boxes. He's the 666 and all the other bullshit. He's gonna be a great father. He's got all the money, this, and that, and still, he don't know what he's talking about. He doesn't deserve my attention.
Okay, so his comment about fixating on unhealthy black women is interesting to me, because are you only surrounded by unhealthy black women? Like, where are you at where you meet these women? I know a lot of healthy black women, and I'm looking at his picture. He looks like a good looking guy, and if he's in a good tax bracket, like, all right, so that's my thing. Like, we just act like there's no healthy good black women out here. Go so far to say that, just
Sid,
like, yeah.
No, but Sid, earlier you said you can't find black men on your wavelength intellectually. So it's a similar situation. It's very similar. Like, so he could say similarly, like, why can't you find no intellectual black men? Where are you finding these stupid black men?
I didn't say that I couldn't find healthy black men. And I also didn't say that I don't think stupid and intellectual are opposites. I just haven't really met any intellectual men that might be on my level intellectually.
But that's what I'm saying. For you, it's intellectualism. For him, it's being healthy.
And I want him to like define healthy too. Unhealthy, like, is he talking about physically, or is he talking like I have a lot of questions.
All the above. Listen, Chuck, if you're willing to come up, man, I'll drop the link in the chat. Matter of fact, let me do that. If anybody is willing to come up and have a dialogue with Sid, if she's up, this is your opportunity. But again, I think it's important we understand that just like I'm supposed to empathize with the fact that it's hard to find intellectually stimulating black men for you, even though I consider myself and other men that I come across intellectually stimulating black men, maybe you might also have a blind spot to the experience of a black man being able to find healthy black women.
Black women. Okay. There's no arguing with that.
But like I said, the link is in the chat. This would be
I
our
feel like we
last
need
segment of the night. So yeah, y'all pull up. But go ahead, you were saying?
I was gonna say I feel like there needs to be like an app for like, you know, they have like BLK, but there needs to be an app where you put in an application and you go through the whole 9, and like only healthy people are allowed in this circle, and just match each
define
other
healthy.
I know, in a perfect
define healthy. Define healthy.
I mean, I think it might look different. Okay, healthy, I think on a human level is going to be someone that's kind, that is an upstanding citizen in society, that looks out for people in their community, that is sane, you know, like the basic things that I don't think is exclusive to just men or women. And then of course, when you talk about what a healthy woman looks like for a man, I think it's really physically attractive, you know, nice. And then for a woman, healthy, I guess, is going to look like resourceful, a leader. I personally enjoy kind men. I know that I might get a lot of rap for that. Like, nah, y'all say y'all like kind men, blah, blah, blah. I do like kind men. I can't say that I like men that are nice, because that's a little bit of a turnoff. But I like men that are kind. I really do. But I can't say that all Black women do. But that's just me. Y'all, they call them simps.
Well, again, that's the experience that Black men are having. They're saying that women aren't incentivizing these behaviors that they articulate during interviews, right? Yeah. Like, and that's why I do this. Like, I'll ask women, hey, describe the kind of son that you would want to raise, and they'll rattle off all this nice shit. And then I ask them about the dudes that they've dated, and they're nothing like the son that they would want to raise.
Right.
So again, there's this cognitive dissonance. So of course niggas think you're full of shit. Mm-hmm. Because the niggas you've dated are what you want.
Yeah.
The son you want to raise is this fairy tale idea of what you think they can become. Mm-hmm. But again, men have to dialogue with reality.
Mm-hmm. I don't disagree with that.
Matter of fact, even on one of the interviews, like the first question I ask is, if you woke up tomorrow and you were a dude, how would you be? Her answer was, I would be a hoe. Nice. Then later on in the conversation, I asked her, what kind of son do you want to raise? She started talking about respectful and kind and this and that. I'm like, number one, you would be the complete antithesis of the son you want to raise. You've only dealt with the complete antithesis of the son you want to raise, but you claim you want to raise this. This is why Black men are pissed. All right, so we've got Maul in the back. I'm gonna bring him up real quick. Be brief, brother, because we're not doing 4 hours today. All right. So Maul, how you doing, man? I think you're muted. Yeah, you're still muted.
He's talking.
Yeah, you're muted, brother.
Sorry about that.
There we go. No, it's all good. Yeah, go ahead, man.
Yeah. So I noticed that you were mentioning about how women would raise their sons. Usually they try to raise their sons to be the type of men that they would want to save them from the situations that they put themselves in. So they kind of create, which I guess is a smart, safety mechanism, is the type of boys that would be the cleanup men. All right. They're not trying to train their boys to be the dudes that they're attracted to. They're trying to train their boys to be the men that would come up after a woman does, because she's a free individual, right? She lives her life, but will come up and remedy that situation. Is something I noticed. Also, is like to address, like, in terms of relationships, I think men understand that there's trade-offs, to things. You know, so if you're a certain type of guy, so let's say that you're an ugly nigga, you realize that you got to do something else, right? You got to work on your strengths, right? You'll be like, okay, I'm ugly, let me get money, or like, you know, I could work on my humor or my game, whatever. You know, you try to, you know, realize that, you know, this is not my strength. You know, I got to do something, right? And even when we go into relationships, we understand that there's certain trade-offs. So like if I'm getting into a relationship, the amount of freedom that I experience, you know, is not going to be the same. Like my dad, he's like, he's married, right? He understands that he checks in with my mom, right? To let my mom know like where he's got, where he's going, right? He understands that intrinsically, all right? And he's not resentful about that trade-off. You know, he just realizes that's part of, you know, being in a family, right? While me, on the other hand, is like, well, actually, I started picking that up, but like my brother, it's not a thing for him. He's a single guy, you know. But I'm saying all this to say is that when dealing with women, I don't know if it's hard ingrained, but they seem to be maximalists. It's like they want all the benefits, right? So you'll have decent women that want the attention that whores get, all right? And you will have a situation where you have a good girl who starts to emulate the behavior patterns, or at least superficially pick up the dress habits of women that get more attention. All right. It's a slippery slope because, you know, you have to find a way to sustain that attention. And eventually it's a corrupting influence. You have whores that want to have the respectability of decent women. You have fat women that want to be seen as attractive as skinny women, or women that are in shape, right? It's like, and they will go through processes like getting what's that? What's those corsets? I don't know, remember the name of it right now. Or like do things to augment their appearance so that they can get the benefits of somebody else. While men realize what lane we're in, women are trying to get all the benefits of things that they're not. It's like, all right, you have ugly women that would augment their beauty with makeup, all right, while dudes were just kind of, well, this is what I am. All right, so I don't know how much of that is just nature, but it's a situation that we're running into because it creates a situation where image is more important than actually being, right? And my concern always is, well, we get women back to the table. How much of it is genuine change versus appearing as, you know? But if you could touch on that.
Yeah, so what's your response to that, Sid?
I don't disagree. I have a question for you. Hi, Mom. So you were saying that if a man is ugly or he has some quality that won't initially attract a woman, he needs to make up for having game or by being funny, making money, this and that. Do you think that an ugly woman would have a better fare in the marketplace if she was funny? Or like what would be her makeup, her the factors that will make up for that don't include like her wearing a lot of makeup? Because obviously we know that attractive.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Definitely being pleasant, you know, certain skills, like, I don't know how true it is today, but it was a saying, it's like, way to a man's heart is through his belly, right? So being able to, you know, cook or something. Is other skills that a woman can bring. You know, in terms of niceness, I'll give you a tangible. Well, it's not tangible, but it's like an example I seen. So, like my church is a Nigerian church. They're mostly Yoruba, but anyway, that's besides the point. I watched a woman pursue a man. He was a foreign bachelor, 35-ish, right, accountant, right. What she did was very plain for me to see, but she slowly positioned herself where you knew that she was after him, and that was her mark, right? So she would come where, to the youth meetings that he was going to. She would position herself near him. Just being pleasant is like, there's a certain underestimating of I don't want to say niceness, but of women up front pushing their attraction onto you. All right, so he wasn't looking for anything, but she methodically did it, and they ended up getting married last year. All right. In my mind, I was like, boy, that's a foregone conclusion because I saw what she was doing. All right. When he came in, he wasn't, looking for her. Right. And so to me, she was an average looking woman. So, so there's that.
I think, and you mentioned that like a lot of good girls will start to emulate hoish behaviors, this and that. Do you think that it's an attention-seeking thing because maybe good, normal girls that might not be like 100, like super aesthetically pleasing, but they're just like normal good girls? Do you think it might be an attention-seeking thing because they weren't picked because of their looks? Like, how far can being pleasant go if you're not attractive? Because I think an unattractive man and an unattractive woman, I think, are very different.
I think men's standards in terms of attraction are wide. I think women look at men through their own prism. So they think like, well, I have a type. This man definitely has a type, and that's all he's willing to go look at. But we know biologically, men's attraction is kind of wide. All right, so you have more chances. Let's put it this way: you have more of a chance with him than he has with you. All right, so you can like, okay, how she looks, that can be a thing. So like, if he doesn't find you attractive, that's it. But what he finds attractive is wide enough. Generally, it's like you might fall into it. All right. So it also is like another. There's called this thing called the Coolidge effect, right? Which it means that the Coolidge effect was following like a rooster, and he was wondering why the rooster was always able to keep mating. It was because there was a plethora of women, different types of women, right? But when saddled down with like just limited choice, eventually he tires out. All right, so there's a certain excitement for the new, but it also points out to men's wide attraction set.
So you're saying you're pretty much saying that women are more picky than men are.
Yeah, women are definitely more picky.
Marketplace. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that at all. What are your thoughts, Alan?
No, I was gonna move on to we got one more person in the back. So Maul, what are your final thoughts?
Oh, okay.
It's like in terms of the conversation of you know, health is like, I don't even view this, well, when relationship health, it's like, I don't even really view this as like black men, black women. It's like my mindset is pretty much just like, you have a situation where you have foolish behavior or behavior that's detrimental to the group or the social group that's going on. And my thing is that I wish for men to be careful, because we can easily fall into a situation where you have people that made certain decisions throughout their life in their young age, older age, but they're now in a tight spot. And so they adopt language that is titillating to our ears because we've been deprived of it for so long. Right. And so it's like that good head scratch, rubbing the back of the neck situation. And I don't want men to, I want to put it the way my mother put it, is like, you don't need to be the guinea pig for somebody's transformation. All right. So if women are coming back to the table, that's great. But we should be looking at character and people that are, if you did it right and you have established yourself through the strength of your character, you should be looking for somebody that's equally yoked with you, and a woman that's also got it in terms of characters. Like, you don't have to go through the regiment. That's pretty much what I will always say.
Right. Hey, appreciate you, brother. Always dropping gems, man. Take care of yourself. Salute.
Take care.
All right. So we got Chuck backstage. Shit. This is the first time he's actually come up. So let me bring him up to get his thoughts. Hold on 1 second. Boom, Chuck, how you doing, man?
Hey, I'm good. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely, brother.
I'm not gonna lie and say something's wrong with my camera. I just don't want to. So
it's all good, man.
So, but at the end of the day, I just wanted to respond to her question related to my, why did I respond specifically related to what I mean by unhealthy. Lucky for me, I don't want this to be misconstrued. I'm in a really good relationship with a beautiful black woman. And I'm not going to give any more information than that, but she's she's up in the tiers. She's she's the typical professional that every guy's been told to avoid. But what I've learned over the last 4 years is this heavy emphasis on communication, because and it sounds silly because there's this misconstrued understanding of what communication means. Sure. And from my point of view, what I mean by unhealthy is this need to interject when a guy finally actually wants to speak. At the end of the day, we are in a space where a lot of men from multiple groups, black men, white men, a number of groups, were told not to talk about our feelings or are incapable of doing it. So when we find ourselves capable of actually verbalizing these feelings, we're in a specific group that wants to shut us down. And I mean from a very aggressive, very, very aggressive, very unhealthy kind of energy, so to speak, specifically because they're not used to it. So it's not me saying that they're bad or evil or, whatever it is, right? At the end of the day, we're both trying to understand how to interact with each other. So in my case, as a professional in my space, doctoral level, didn't trap myself in academia. I make a lot of money. Yeah. I could have easily jumped ship, like you always say, but I made a conscious decision over 4 years ago to want to be with somebody of my complexion. And that takes a lot of work dealing with our women, and they don't seem to recognize that.
You know, I know,
a
brother.
lot of work, and it's not disrespect to them. I understand that your education has weaponized your ability to question and ask, or even maybe demand reasons for my movements, but I am still innately a man. So I'm not going to necessarily respond responsibly every time, because it just feels like you're questioning what got me here in the first place. And I'm pretty sure she's heard this if she's been in the manosphere for whatever period of time, from a number of professional men. If we got to this point, why are you still questioning me? Now, the other part of it is, when it comes to the relationship aspects of it, like, we all have our fuses, right? I'm lucky enough that I came from a 2-parent household that stuck it out. They're still bumping heads, but I know what it means to be in a long-term relationship. So I know there's no such thing as a perfect situation. There's a conversation that has to be had consistently. But what I have run into with, and I'm probably giving too much information now, but I am with a African-American woman. You know, I'm in America, you know, it's what it is, you know, you got to deal with what you got to deal with. And I have to be honest, man, there was a learning curve. And because of the learning curve, something that should have taken 6 months to a year, knowing how awesome this person is, took us almost 5 years to get us to the point where I'm going to marry this person, you know? Wow. So it's just, they need to understand that they're the barrier to entry. And it's not that they're the bad guy. They just need to understand that, just like men have to understand how they interact with our counterparts, they need to understand we're coming at this now that we're getting educated, especially if you're talking to the top echelon dudes. We've had to deal with so much that we're in therapy now.
Right.
I've been through hell, so I've had to talk about this stuff. So now I know what I'm looking for, and I know what I can handle. So if I'm trying to point something out, I don't need you to, well, it's not that. I would have said maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I just need someone that is capable of not just dealing with my BS or even nurturing crap out of me, but understanding that sometimes I'm just going to say something that may, in my mind, I'm trying to compliment you, and maybe even do some level of, how do I put it? You can't criticize our women. I'll put it like that. Even if it's constructive, and I'm probably yammering right now, but any type of constructive criticism is met with energy that is just not what I've run into in another situation. And I'm going to admit, before I made the decision to be with a Black woman, prior to this, over 4 years ago, I dated every group. And for me, the learning curve was realizing with a Black woman that this would be my headache, that they didn't know inherently that there was, like, I'm trying to do the right thing. So every move I made was met with energy where I had to prove myself. Whereas every group, I could spend money. I was in the kitchen cooking, helping. As a professional, they were there with me as I was going through the trenches. They did not question any step of it. My masculinity was never questioned, and I never felt anything until I made the decision to be with a Black woman. And I'll shut up right now. But at the end of the day,
man,
at the end of the day, what I mean by health is just this healthy capacity or ability to just communicate. And I feel like that is one of the things that you'll probably notice in many of my comments, something about, even with the most highly educated women, and this is with men too, our inability to, we could be literally speaking to each other and the message is still lost. And this is on both sides. And so that's why when your channel popped up, I was like, take my money. I was like, this guy understands, like, because I could be angry. I went through my red pill moment. I went through the rage. I got frustrated. And then I met my soon-to-be future wife. And I have to say, we all as a group have a learning curve, and we have a responsibility to each other to just, I wouldn't say necessarily be patient, but understand what you think you're hearing from your partner may not necessarily be what they're saying, because not all of us have the vernacular. I'll just say that.
Sid, I need your response to that. Because you inspired my brother to come up here for the first time ever. So that's heavy, man. That's heavy. So what are your thoughts?
It's heavy in a good way. First off, thank you for sharing that. I think that what you just said is what we need to have more of the conversations around. And I hear there's just so much balance in your story and so much experience too. And I think that Black women have a tendency to look at Black men the way that white people look at Black men. Very subhuman. Like, just in the way that we speak to you all sometimes is like, why are you speaking to this man this way? So I definitely understand, because it's like a lot of these women don't even look, they just look at Black men as so subpar, like so beneath them, that communication isn't even a question. But just to add a little bit of positivity, I love this story, and I think that we need to have more of these conversations and shout it from the mountaintops, because the way that you just exhibited so much respect for this woman, even you were like, there's learning curves, is what you said, that I have to go around, but you can tell that you genuinely love Black women, and you did it because you love us. And that's, I feel like, what Black women need to hear more of, that, Black men do love us. And I think on the flip side, Black men need to hear that Black women do love them.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely,
just depends on who you choose, I guess.
And I think it's the running theme. That's why even some of the Passport brothers, where are they talking? Africa. At the end of the day, they love their Black women. The issue is that disconnect in communication, and I might be using the word communication, and it's a broad term, unfortunately, but there's a level of, or at least at my level, a level of responsibility that you have to, like, really mature and just be patient, and that's why, again, I enjoy this channel, because best believe, man, like, there are times I'm like screaming at the screen, like, yo, dude, what the hell? And he kind of like reels it back, and I'm like, all right, let me just really do a little bit of introspection here, because, like, I could imagine where he's coming from, because you could tell he's been having these conversations, because that first year with my partner, like, she is extraordinary. I'll just say this. I knew from the moment I freaking went on the first date with her, I wanted to be with her. And the thing is she kept doing things to freaking reverse that. And it wasn't like she was just like being overtly, like, she wasn't for the streets. She wasn't doing anything crazy. You just, peace. Oh my God. Just because you're smart enough to ask a question doesn't mean you do it, and then as a woman, like, there are gifts you have. There are ways you can navigate conversations that we men weren't allowed to do for a majority of our lives. And then you're expecting us to pick up these things that are probably going to take us until our 40s or 50s to figure out. And we're being punished for it as we figure it out, especially as professional men. Because if you're a professional guy, we all know, especially if we went through undergrad, we had no life. None. To get to this point, we had to make sacrifices. And that's not even having a freaking company. Here's the other thing. You start a company or you try to do anything outside the box, it's going to cost you. So if you're running into these, I don't know, some Black women would have called us the boring, successful lames. But I find that interesting, because the focus that it took us to get to this level, we get punished for it. We get punished for it. And I have to be patient with the same women that I made the sacrifice for, which I find very interesting. And I stay quiet. I've stayed quiet for many years, even through Kevin Samuels. I threw money at him the whole time. Like the funny thing is I never felt the inclination to come out in the open, only because it's just, I don't want to have to argue a point. I just want to acknowledge that we both have issues to work out. But it just seems like we live in a world where women are not willing to budge because they were never forced to.
Wow. That's good. Let me ask you, what kept you, and you might have answered this, but like, what kept you still wanting to pursue her?
And you're going to find this very funny. I hope she doesn't find this video in the future.
We're 3 hours in, so she watches the whole thing.
Yeah,
she's so, well, considering her job, she's probably going to be way too busy to ever listen this far in. But I will say this: it was on our first date. I did a nerdy trip on purpose. We went to the Natural History Museum, and I came in typical. What they say about guys like me is true. We hide ourselves. You're not going to see me coming in with a chain. You're not going to see me with a watch. You're going to know that I'm different. Met with her, went to the Natural History Museum, and this is before the Black Panther movie comes out. And I'm like, yo, I can't wait to watch that new Black Panther movie. And she went on this beautiful rant. And I mean rant about the Black Panther movement. I did not correct her. I listened. That energy is the type of woman I would want raising my child. At that moment, I knew she understood what it meant to be Black and what it meant to protect a Black boy and a daughter. There was no question. I just stood in awe. Did not correct her, not until the movie came out. So did not correct her. I knew. And the funny thing is, a lot of people would see that energy and be turned off by it. But I knew that energy could literally be there to protect my child when my back was turned. But the funny thing, but that's what kept me, because I knew it existed. Because after the fact, it was the learning process for her figuring out my issues and me figuring out what it meant for her to feel comfortable with me and things like that. I could go on, a rant about that. But at the end of the day, it just, that mistake on her part was enough for me to just stay in place, because she valued the Black community so much. It was for me to be like, okay, if I'm gonna be in the trenches with somebody and deal with some headaches, this is the person I want to do it with. But it took us, that was like literally maybe 2 or 3 months into meeting her. And then, like I said, we're going on 5 years by December of this year. And it was
Congrats,
just,
man.
Thank you.
Oh, that's awesome.
I know it was a little freaking fluffy, but that just shows you how powerful the relationships could be, if you find the right one that knows, and in my case, maybe I found a unicorn, but I don't want to believe they're unicorns, because I've seen other very attractive, very, very intelligent Black women like yourself. The thing is whether or not you guys are willing to just like, look, I get it. You guys are built for tough. America's strong, freaking modern women, probably super educated, capable. No, shut it down. You need to make us feel like we are needed. You want to keep saying that we're not needed? Fine. Then we're going to play that game too, because there's a ton of freaking Asian and white chicks that'll take our money just as quick. And that's the thing that sucks. And even if it's not about the money, they make you feel like you're a normal guy, versus I'm always dealing with the headache as a Black man in corporate America, academia, in the world, and period. And I come home and I'm dealing with a woman that doesn't make me feel like the guy that's running the show. Like, nah, dude, nah. I dealt with every other group. I walked in, I felt like a god in my space. And I didn't even have money at the time. That's what's hilarious. They just knew.
And that's been my message to our women. Unfortunately, like these men, we bust our ass to become better than white men. And it gets to a point where the rest of the world acknowledges it better or more so than our own women. And it's heartbreaking. It's hard. Like I have to still prove myself, regardless of the fact that, according to that New Division song, I was fly before you got here. I was charismatic before you got here. I was successful before you got here. But for some reason, it still seems like I don't know what I'm talking about. Oh, yeah. Alan just talks good. He's not responsible. Oh, Alan, he probably got somebody to put his apartment together for him. Like there has to be something to make stuff make sense. And that's why I'm so passionate about these conversations, because at the end of the day, like if our women are claiming they want to see more Chucks, they want to see more Russells, they want to see more good men, we have to start incentivizing that behavior.
Oh, that's a fact. Oh my God. Oh, that's a fact.
I mean, when I'm talking, my little brother is 17 years old. He tells me literally, with the little white girls, they believe, I guess, in his masculinity just based on the fact that he's a big black kid. But for the black girls, it's like, you're a little boy. Prove to me that you know about drugs and you can fight and you can shoot and all that nonsense, and you're intellectual and all that. There's always something that we have to constantly prove, and that it's infuriating, but it's also sad as hell, because it's like we're never gonna be enough. Sid, how are you gonna help us get this together, man?
I don't even know. One woman at a time.
Good answer.
We need to have these combos. There's so much heart in this conversation, and a level of just this conversation is just so warm. And I think you would be one heartless person if you're a woman and you heard what you just said and you still were dismissive of what men go through. Because this is the humanity in this combo. We need to have these conversations more. But yes, one woman at a time, for sure. Because you're not going to be able to have this conversation on TikTok and think that's going to fare very well. There's always going to be a rebuttal. So it's going to be me talking, you talking to, I don't know, a young lady that you meet randomly. It's not going to be you, on a platform, unfortunately. But yeah.
Chuck, you got any final thoughts, man? Any last words?
No. I didn't want to waste too much time. She asked for an answer, and as much as I try to avoid these situations,
man, listen, I appreciate it, man.
I felt inclined, because she seemed very genuine. Not to say I haven't had instances where someone wasn't interested, but she just seemed very genuine, and I felt inclined to want to respond and give her an honor, because everybody can go a lot of directions with the word healthy or unhealthy black women or whatever. But at the end of the day, I'm always going to go back to, because obviously we can stick with, the physicalities of things, but I am telling you, something about mental health or an inability to recognize, yourself and some of your weaker intricacies, and an inability to communicate. Right. It could be it's so harmful. And I'm talking about myself, because I screwed up a lot too, and I have to say she was very patient with me too. I'm not this perfect individual, but she made a mistake at the beginning of our relationship that saved it. So at the end of the day, that gave me something to chase. And I think a lot of men can relate. Most of us, we know if you're the wife, the moment we see it, a lot of the time our potential partners just talk themselves out of it or behave themselves out of it.
Oh my God. My God, that's a fact. That is, man, that's a fact.
And that's it. I'm gonna probably jump off now.
Listen, that is a fact. That is a fact. And I mean, just to add to that, and I was having this conversation earlier today. Like, essentially, as a man, we're signing up to potentially like sacrifice ourselves, whether in pursuit of breadwinning or in literal defense of your life, right? So we would like to do that sacrifice for somebody who we feel like is going to be worth it.
Absolutely.
And similarly, I think that's how women should be with their womb and their reproduction, because they're essentially sacrificing their lives as well. So yeah, we deserve a bit of time. We deserve a bit of understanding as we make that assessment. But as you said, a lot of women unfortunately talk or behave themselves out of that potential position.
Absolutely.
Man. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate it. I appreciate every
Thank you
time
for
you
having
make
me.
a comment.
And continue to do
Absolutely,
what you're doing, man. I'm sorry for cutting you off, but continue to do what you're doing. I'm gonna still sit in the background. I might pop up here and there, and thank you for your being on the show. Hey Courtney. Anyways, I'm a big fan of hers. I'm a big fan of hers as well. But yeah, continue to do what you do. I think what you're doing is it's super important. I think a lot of people are kind of sleeping on it. I think it's going to grow. And when it comes to what it's going to be to create a foundation, I think your channel is definitely required. So I'm out.
Hey, salute to you, brother. Thank you so much, man.
Have a good evening. All right, I'm out.
You too, man. All right, take care.
Yep.
All right, Sid. We have come to the end of the night again. Man, hey, that boy dropped some gems, man. But what are your final thoughts? And then we're gonna get on up out of here.
My final thoughts. Even with everything I was saying earlier, I do think that Black people are going to be okay. We got to keep God in the mix. We got to take care of ourselves and be the best versions of ourselves. But we do have a lot of work to do. Some people might get left behind, but they're going to be all right too. And I had a really good time with you today, with y'all. This is amazing. I'll come back whenever you'll have me.
I got you. We got to do a part 2. We got to get you on the brown couch again. We got a different facade. But thank you so much, Sid.
We should do like an anniversary.
Anniversary.
You're welcome.
Paul said I should have you for episode 100 because we on the way to that. Thursday was episode 79, so we might do that. You'll be the century episode. Harvey, I see you, man. Shout out to you, brother. Abuki again, shout out to you. Tanisha, shout out. Courtney, shout out to you as always, darling. Sid, thank you from literally being my very first episode to like I said, managing the TikTok, inspiring me with ideas.
We was doing our thing, man.
Every conversation we've had has been invaluable to me. So thank you. And I'm in your corner always. I think this was really good. Like I said, I think there's more to talk about, but again, we're gonna keep this going because ultimately, I want this to be a blueprint for how Black men and Black women can and should dialogue. So we're gonna keep this thing pushing. But I appreciate you, Sid.
Hopefully, we'll be.
And
you're very welcome anytime.
Absolutely.
I said anytime.
But
I got you.
Yeah. I think the signal is kind of like going in and out for some reason. But thank you again. Thank you for the viewers. I'm gonna watch this back. I'm gonna hit you after this, Sid. But shout out to y'all. Y'all have a good weekend. Have a good night, and I'll see you guys Tuesday. Good night.